Chapter 429. Qi Fang returned to the topic at hand. She asked curiously and nervously, "What's the matter with Erzi? Cheng, how much did Jika's family give you when you visited them?" "I have to go to the bank tomorrow to withdraw money for this." Lu Qing smiled and said, 10,001 yuan. The meeting with his parents-in-law was informal, so he didn't have the necessary etiquette. He didn't receive a big red packet until he went to Jiangnan and finished his walk with Senior Ji. No, he should call him Grandpa. In fact, to the Ji family and the Yen family, a red packet of 10,001 yuan was nothing at all. However, considering the Lu family situation and the fact that Lu Qing was still in school, they decided on this number. It was more symbolic than practical, 10,001. That's good, that's good. Qi Fang breathed a sigh of relief and smiled again. If it had been 2 months ago, she might have had a headache over the issue of red packets since she had spent all her savings on buying a house and renovating a house. However, things had come to an end. Lu Jisheng had been promoted and received incentive shares and corresponding bonuses. Their family's financial situation had improved, and they could still afford 10,000 yuan. As for the couple getting married, it was still too early, at least 3 years away. By then, they would be well off. Lu Qing felt his mother relax and couldn't help but smile. "Mom, you don't have to go to the bank tomorrow. I have almost 10,001 yuan in cash. You just need to get some. For your wife." Qi Fang was about to say something wrong. She laughed and said, "It's a red packet for your girlfriend. How can I spend your money? But isn't it natural for me to give money to my parents?" Lu Qing said gently. "Mom, you're right. You're my wife, and you have a certificate. No, this is a gift from your dad and me." Qi Fang waved her hand and refused. "Our family is doing well these days. Keep the cash for yourself. Don't let her suffer." Okay. Lu Qing didn't insist. After all, he would find a chance to give more money to his mom in 2 days. At this time, Lu Jisheng came out of the shower. With the TV program as the background, the family of 3 talked a lot about Yan Jika's visit to her in-laws. In the end, Qi Fang clapped her hands and decided to take her husband to buy some nice clothes after the cleaning tomorrow, so as not to embarrass her son. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The night was getting darker. Lu Qing finished showering and lay on the bed. He shared the contents of their discussion with Yan Jike in the form of interesting news. He played the role of a mole perfectly. After talking about this matter, he felt the desolation and silence around him. He sighed with a smile and typed on the keyboard. "The night is long, I can't sleep alone." Yan Jike quickly replied with a snickering emoji, "Unfortunately, I have Empress Dowager to accompany me." Mother and daughter talk at night. "I don't know what it means to be alone and unable to sleep." After that, she sent a message, "Do you think I will sympathize with you?" I almost laughed out loud, expression. Following that, she added, all right, big sister will dote on you tomorrow. Be good and go to sleep." Sensing the subtle fluctuations and changes in his wife's emotions, Lu Qing smiled and asked, "How does it hurt?" "How else can it hurt? In broad daylight, in front of so many people, how do you want it to hurt?" Yan Jike said with an emoji of slamming the table. "I just want you to have breakfast with me." "What are you thinking about?" "Ko, your thoughts are a little dirty recently." Lu Qing replied with an emoji of a sinister smile. "I." Yan Jike's face was flushed. She gritted her teeth and sent an emoji of knocking on the head. "It's all because you are too dirty. That's why I'm thinking dirty. It's all your fault. Quick, say I'm wrong." Yes, Coach Yen, I'm wrong." Lu Qing typed with a smile and inexplicably missed her. Seeing his reply, Yenjika was silent for more than 10 seconds. Cheng, what? Lu Qing asked in confusion. I miss you a little. Yenjika held her phone and lay on her side. Her eyes softened. Although they had only been apart for a little more than 4 hours, me too. Seeing this, Lu Cheng's emotions calmed down. His heart was peaceful, just like the scenery outside the window covered with a veil of moonlight. Compared to the burning passion, this was the beauty on the other side of love. The next morning, Lu Cheng got up early and quickly washed up. He put on the navy blue Longhu Club martial arts suit and ran to the villa community by Backwater Lake to warm up before the training. At the entrance of the community, he sent a message. Not long after, he saw Yenjika running out quickly. The girl's black hair was tied up and she was wearing plain white. She was pretty and elegant. What a coincidence! Lu Qing said with a smile. Ku was wearing the female version of the Longhu Club martial arts suit, which happened to be a matching outfit with his. And they didn't tell each other beforehand. What a coincidence! Yenjika showed her dimples and smiled sweetly. Girls always liked coincidences like this. It made them feel as if their hearts were connected. Without saying anything, the couple looked at each other deeply and ran to Backwater Lake with a smile. In summer, the sun rose early, so people started their morning exercises earlier. Lu Qing and Yenjika changed their usual places 3 times before they found a relatively secluded training spot. After a tender kiss, the two of them separated. Lu Qing got into a stance and started to move his joints. Crackling sounds came from his body. After this, he couldn't help but turn his head to look at his wife. He saw Yenjika's face was red and she was ready to practice still stance. Practice your martial arts. What are you looking at? Sensing Lu Cheng's gaze, the girl pouted playfully. Her eyes were clear and seductive. I'm looking at the motivation for practicing martial arts. Lu Qing replied with a smile, training harder and harder. Just like that, they focused on each other and occasionally looked at each other. They felt that time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the end of the morning exercise. Ku, what's your plan today? Lu Qing asked with a smile while jogging to breakfast. Yenjika looked up and said, I have to chat with Empress Dowager and my dad and cook with them. Well, I'm just an assistant and have to buy a gift for your family. What about you? If you didn't have any plans, we would have fooled around together. Lu Qing laughed. Fooled around your head. Yenjika glared at him, annoyed and amused. What kind of words are you using? Lu Qing laughed and said, since you want to spend time with Empress Dowager and your father-in-law, I have to go home and help my mom with the cleaning. He wasn't familiar with his father-in-law and mother-in-law yet. It would be awkward to intrude and ruin the atmosphere and feelings. After the cleaning, I'll go to the Gushan Martial Arts School's strength training gymnasium for another 2 hours to push the door of the inhuman stage. Then I'll find Qin Rui and Fatty Jiang for a gathering. He described his plan. Okay. Yenjika nodded like a chick pecking at rice. As they ran, the two of them slowed down their pace. They started to hold hands and then they started to walk faster. After eating the dumplings outside the No. 1 middle school and sending his little fairy to the entrance of the neighborhood, Lu Qing started his daily routine according to plan. It was past 1:00 in the afternoon. The scorching sun was high in the sky and there seemed to be heat waves rising from the ground. Lu Qing, Zhang Fei, and Qin Rui hid in a row under the shade of a tree and sat on the railing, leisurely looking at the gate of the No. 1 middle school a few meters away, watching the youthful juniors walk in one by one. Cheng, if you don't wear glasses, there will be a lot of people surrounding you. Fatty Jiang turned his head and looked at his best friend's plain glasses. Yeah, Cheng is now a big celebrity in Shushan. Our martial arts school doesn't need to say anything. As long as we mention that he used to be a part-time coach here, the number of applicants will explode instantly. Qin Rui echoed with a smile. After he succeeded in meditation, his strength improved rapidly. With the training of the preliminaries, he was almost at the level of ninth pin, almost catching up with Dai Lin Feng. Lu Qing laughed and said, I worked hard to achieve this. You can't be jealous. By the way, why didn't old Qing come out? He usually takes a long time to reply when I chat with him on QQ. He hadn't seen Qing Chili for almost a year. It's the same if I talk to him. Alas, maybe he made a lot of new friends in college and was busy with other things, so he didn't have time to meet us old classmates. Jiang Fei sighed. I've always thought that my contact with the other students in class would indeed become less and less in the future. However, the friendship between the three of us should be able to last for a very, very long time. In the end, sigh, when old Qing thinks of us in the future, it will most likely be a red bomb. Believe it or not, I will send you one now. Lu Qing complained in his heart, feeling a little disappointed. Friendship was such a thing. Once one party was cold, they would quickly become passers-by. The other classmates here expressed their dissatisfaction. Qin Rui made a joke. I'm just giving an example. I'm just lamenting my relationship with old Qing. Jiang Fei pointed at the gate of the No. 1 middle school and said, Qing, old Qing, and I would sit here from time to time, looking at the school gate to see if there were any beautiful girls to admire. We would enter when class was about to start. Once, we happened to see Yenjika, with her long hair fluttering in the wind. He stopped here and thought of the end of the goddess. He glanced at Lu Qing sadly and said, Forget it, let's not talk about it. It's really a sad story. Ha! Lu Qing laughed, both physically and mentally. Qin Rui also laughed and said, I heard that there was a new teaching director recently. He forbade girls to keep long hair. Damn, what a pervert. Jiang Fei cursed excitedly. After joking about school affairs for a while, Qin Rui said smugly, Qing, how confident do you think I am to participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin now? He had asked Lu Qing for advice in the morning. Settle down and train hard for 3 more months. You have a great chance to participate in the ranking event in October. Lu Qing didn't exaggerate or belittle. Okay. Qin Rui gripped the railing tightly and couldn't hide his smile. Jiang Fei sighed and said, I feel that you two are not from the same world as me. When I first entered school, I wanted to be a successful person in the future. After 2 years of school, my dream has plummeted. I just want to find a good job after graduation so that I don't have to live off my parents. After 2 more years, your dream will still plummet. Lu Qing said sarcastically, as long as you have a job. Maybe. No, I have to pull myself together. Jiang Fei seemed to be stimulated. He had once wanted to lose weight and exercise, but after a winter break, he stopped. He only did it once a week. Sometimes he would even slack off, so his body remained the same and he still didn't have a girlfriend. While Jiang Fei was murmuring, Lu Cheng's phone rang and an incoming call came in. Hello, Master. Seeing that it was Comrade Shi Jiangwo, he quickly answered the call. Brat, I'm getting your visa to America. Geezer Shi coughed and said, Are you busy today? Lu Cheng was puzzled and answered, Nothing. Why did Master ask this? Well, I have a small task for you. It'll take you half a day at most. Geezer Shi laughed. A small task. Lu Cheng said to himself in surprise. Chapter 430. What's the matter? Lu Cheng felt uneasy. His master was sometimes unreliable. Geezer Shi laughed and said, A disciple of the ice god sect named Li Zhenhua is in trouble in Linbian. You're the closest to him, so go and take care of him. Taking the high-speed rail to Linbian was indeed an hour and a half wasted time. Lu Qing nodded slightly and asked, Master, what's the trouble? It's a long story. You brat, you don't understand this old man at all. Geezer laughed and scolded him. Write down her phone number and call her later. She'll tell you the whole thing, xxxxx. Okay. Lu Qing repeated it twice and asked Jiang Fei to write it down. He asked, Master, I'm not working part-time in the sect. I should be paid for this kind of task, right? Hey, when did you become so greedy? Geezer smiled in surprise. Lu Qing smiled embarrassedly and said, Ku is going to study in America, so I need to save more money for the trip. As for using his own influence and connections to do business with others, he still couldn't cross the threshold in his heart for the time being. Not bad. You know how to save money for this. You're very responsible. I'm sure you'll be paid. Let's talk about it later. How can the sect treat you unfairly? Even if it's not for you, it's for me. At this point, Geezer was still worried and reminded him, when you arrive at the woodland, remember to give me a call if anything unexpected happens. Okay. Lu Qing didn't say more. After the call, he quickly dialed the number his master gave him. The cheerful ringtone rang for less than 3 seconds before the call was connected. A tired and anxious female voice said, Hello, who's this? I'm Lu Qing from the Ice God sect. Lu Qing's voice was low and concise. The female voice suddenly became excited. Hello, senior. I'm Li Zhenhua's girlfriend, Zhang Xiaozi. Senior. Lu Qing was stunned by the name. He didn't have time to correct her and asked directly, what happened to Li Zhenhua? It was his girlfriend who was answering the phone. They didn't tell you. Zhenhua, he's missing. Senior, this matter is rather complicated, so I can't explain it clearly. When you arrive, I'll tell you the details in person, Zhang Xiaozi said in an anxious tone. Sure enough, Master is not very reliable. Lu Qing thought to himself. Since he had to go and take a look anyway, he nodded and said, Okay, I'll let you know when I book the tickets. Let's meet at the high-speed rail station. Okay, I'll wait for you, senior. Zhang Xiaozi was obviously relieved, as if she had found her backbone. Senpai, do I sound that old? He opened the app and booked the train to Linbian at 2:25 p.m., leaving the return trip aside for the time being. Fatty Jiang, send me to the high-speed rail station. I have something to deal with in the sect. Lu Qing had never been polite with Jiang Fei. Tisk Qing, you're starting to look like a business elite. Jiang Fei had just finished watching a series about the workplace last night. Lu Qing was about to mock himself when he suddenly thought of something. Wait, Fatty Jiang, send me home first, then go to the high-speed rail station. Linbian was not part of the Xing province, but an important border area. Although it was still far from the national border, it was a land transportation hub with a large flow of people. The security there was not very good, and could even be said to be a little chaotic. Even though he was in Shushan, he could hear from time to time that there was a big case there. Plus, it was a multi-ethnic area, so the atmosphere was quite tough. Therefore, even if he did not intend to do it, he had to be prepared. As the car started moving, Lu Qing took out his phone and sent a message to Yan Zhike. Facepalm expression, capable people do more work. My master sent me to Linbian to deal with the trouble caused by a junior disciple. I'm a martial uncle, and if something really happens to someone of my generation, it's not something I can solve, Yan Zhike replied very quickly with an emoji of a dumbfounded face. Okay, so sudden. Linbian is quite chaotic. Cheng, you have to be careful. Change into your martial arts suit. No matter what happens, don't think about holding back. You're the most important, she said a lot in one go, and at the end, she said, I'll wait for you to come back. With my dear wife's words, I'll definitely be able to return safely tonight. Lu Qing sent an excited emoji with a red scarf wrapped around its head. I'm just about to go home and change into my martial arts suit. When he reached home, he took out another set of navy blue Longhu Club martial arts suit and changed into the custom-made training shoes made for him by Wu Qinggui's company. He tightened his sleeves, took his phone and wallet, and strode out of the door. 2:08 p.m. He was sent to the high-speed rail station by Jiang Fei. 2:15 p.m. Lu Qing passed the security check and boarded the high-speed rail. 2:25 p.m. The high-speed rail started on time, roaring towards the south. 3:52 p.m. The high-speed rail stopped at Linbian Station. Lu Qing sent a message to Yan Zhike and followed the line out of the carriage. 3:59 p.m. He walked out of the arrival hall in his navy blue suit and found the iconic white horse statue in the square in front of the station. This was the place where he and Zhang Xiaozi agreed to meet. Say, Senior. A girl in her 20s with a hairstyle called out uncertainly. She was thin, wearing a short-sleeved shirt, shorts, and jogging shoes. She could barely be considered pretty. Zhang Xiaozi. Lu Qing asked in reply. Yes, yes, yes. You're Senior Lu Qing. Didn't you say you were going to meet a martial uncle? Zhang Xiaozi asked, half surprised and half confused. It was because of this that she called him Senior directly. I know you're not a disciple of the Ice God sect, and you don't care much about the university martial arts competition or similar topics. Lu Qing thought and nodded steadily. I joined the sect late, so I'm Senior. Before Zhang Xiaozi asked again, he looked at the taxi queue and adjusted the sleeves of his martial arts suit. Let's talk on the way. Don't waste time. She was missing, so he had to seize every minute and second. Yes, Senior. Zhang Xiaozi quickened her pace and followed beside Lu Qing. She quickly picked up the key points. Linbian has a rich man called Si Jianting. He colluded with a warlord in the war-torn area in the south. He opened several underground casinos near the border and lured many people to play there until they lost their family fortune. Zhenhua's father was one of them. When he was 13 years old, he committed suicide in the casino, and his family was ruined. He came for revenge. Do you have evidence? Lu Qing didn't stop walking and asked directly. The sect generally didn't care about this kind of revenge that didn't have any reliable clues. Yes. Zhang Xiaozi quickened her pace to a trot. He watched Si Jianting for 2 or 3 years. This time he said he could get decisive evidence, so he rushed to Linbian. Because he was afraid of an accident, he took me with him. He told me to immediately notify the sect if something was wrong. Then how did he go missing? Lu Qing slowed down his pace and wasn't so anxious to get close to the taxi queue. There were so many people, so who knew if the taxi driver knew the person over there? Zhang Xiaozi took a breath and said, Last night, Zhenhua said that he wanted to investigate Si Jianting's Lin Fu building at night and find those several decisive pieces of evidence. I watched him go in, but he didn't come out the entire night. I saw that something was wrong, so I immediately called the sect's senior brothers according to what he said. The sect first pressured the provincial police to come here and deal with it, but their local protectionism is particularly strong, so they didn't pay much attention. They searched once and found nothing. They looked at the surveillance video, but there was no scene of Zhenhua going in. I clearly saw him go in. I urged them again and again, but there was still no result. I could only report back to the sect, and they let Senior come. Although Lu Qing was much younger than she had expected, in this kind of situation, she was grasping at the last straw. She didn't dare to change her attitude in the slightest. Lu Qing quickened his pace and said in a low voice, Let's go to the Linfu building to take a look first. You carefully recall if there are any important details missing. We'll talk about it after we get off the taxi. Yes, Senior. Zhang Xiaozi walked breathlessly. At 4:21, the taxi stopped on the opposite side of the street from the Linfu building. Lu Cheng, wearing a navy blue martial arts suit, pushed open the door and walked out. He looked at the 19-story building, which was generally short and old in the woods. This could be considered a landmark with a rather modern atmosphere. Xi Jianting has been transforming and washing his name in the past few years, and has started to get involved in real estate. This is a joint development between him and several companies. Zhang Xiaozi introduced. She hadn't finished speaking when her eyes suddenly widened. She pointed to the opposite side and said, "Xi Jianting." Lu Qing looked up and saw an old man in his 50s with a rigid outline and an aquiline nose. He was surrounded by 7 or 8 bodyguards and subordinates as he walked out of the Linfu building's door. His eyes were sharp and cold. This was Xi Jianting. In the taxi, Lu Qing had seen the photo Zhang Xiaozi had taken of him, but they hadn't talked about it. Compared to Xi Jianting, Lu Qing was more concerned about the 2 bodyguards at his side. One had dark skin, and his facial features were very characteristic of the war-torn areas in the south. The other had muscles that supported his t-shirt. Every step he took was neither too long nor too short, just right, as if measured with a ruler. They were all dance stage martial artists. As for their specific levels, it was very difficult to judge from their appearance. The 2 of them are very strong. Without them, Xi Jianting wouldn't have survived until now. That dark-skinned one is called Wilson. He's a freelance killer in the war-torn areas. Later, he was seriously injured and was taken in by Xi Jianting, becoming his confidant. At his peak, he was said to be close to level 6. That muscular guy is called Huang Qingda. His strength is a bit worse than Wilson's, but he's also a martial artist who's seen a lot of blood in the war-torn areas. Zhang Xiaozi repeated the information Li Zhenhua had collected. "Senior, don't be careless. They're definitely hiding guns, the kind with large caliber." As she spoke, she impatiently said to herself, "Where are they going?" "Home. You ask the people in the police station here." Lu Qing calmly ordered. "Okay." Zhang Xiaozi quickly took out her cell phone and asked a few questions. Her face suddenly became very bad. She turned her head and anxiously said to Lu Qing, "Xi Jianting wants to go to the south to discuss business. The people in the police station said they have no evidence or clues, so they can't stop him. Senior, he wants to run." Of course, the south was the border. And if Xi Jianting ran, Li Zhenhua would most likely disappear forever, but there's no evidence. Lu Qing saw 2 black cars drive to the entrance of the building. He saw Wilson quickly run forward and open the back door of the second car. Huang Qingda protected Xi Jianting as they approached. He thought for a moment, dialed his master's number, and briefly and comprehensively repeated the current situation. "You decide for yourself," Gieserscher said with some schadenfreude. "What's the bottom line?" Lu Qing asked back. Gieserscher muttered to himself for a few seconds, coughed twice, and said, "Don't kill anyone." Chapter 431. Don't kill anyone. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched, and he silently hung up the phone. Then he observed the surrounding terrain and walked towards the exit of the Linfu building. "Senior, they're about to get in the car." Zhang Xiaozi trotted after him, anxiously reminding him. Lu Qing didn't look at her, and his left hand steadily pressed down, indicating that she shouldn't speak. At the same time, he dialed another number, Yenjika's phone. After a short ringtone, the other side seemed to have been waiting, worried, and quickly connected. "Hello, Ku, my master is unreliable. A small matter has become a big trouble." Lu Qing bitterly laughed. On the way here, he fully believed in his master, and treated the trouble in Linbian and Li Zhenhua's disappearance as urgent but not dangerous matters. Although he was prepared to take action, it was only in case, and he didn't really know him, so he could still chat with Ko with a relaxed and cheerful attitude. Later, even though he had figured out the whole story from Zhang Xiaozi, he still felt that his task was more to find clues, pressure and urge the police to search again, and cooperate with them with the keen senses of the Dan stage. Even if he did take action, at most he would just be a supporting role, easy and relaxed. Until Si Jianting showed signs of escaping, his master gave him the bottom line. Only then did he feel that this matter was more thorny and a little dangerous, and he had to explain it to his other half. This master who cheated his disciple. On the other side of the phone, Yenjika's heavy breathing was clearly heard through the radio. She was silent for a moment before she said, "Can you not do it?" Lu Qing smiled and said, "It's related to the life and death of a martial nephew. Ku, don't worry, I won't take action without absolute certainty. To be blunt, I'm not his father, mother, or master, so I don't need to take any risks for him." These words made Zhang Xiaozi's face pale, and she almost fell down. Taking action with absolute certainty, then wouldn't that be hopeless? Facing two powerful Dan stage martial artists and 5 or 6 armed bodyguards, plus Si Jianting who was at the peak of 9th pin in his prime, he had to be at least an inhuman stage senior to have absolute certainty. That would be the upper class of a sect. Exactly, he's not a fairy. Yenjika slightly relaxed, and added another sentence out of concern, "You promise?" "I promise," Lu Qing promised in a deep voice. If Si Jianting didn't get on the carriage, and didn't let his subordinates split up, facing 2 level 7 Dan stage martial artists and several bodyguards armed with large caliber firearms, then although he had a grasp of the situation, it wasn't worthwhile for him to take the risk for a martial nephew he didn't know. After all, once he was entangled with the experts for a short period of time, the firepower would cross, and he wouldn't be able to withstand it. Just like that time when he went to the Guo family as a bodyguard, the rank 7 fugitive knew how to retreat when faced with him and the 4 sharpshooters, who were at most rank 8 in terms of combat strength, and didn't take the risk. However, since they had already boarded the vehicles, things were much simpler. This was equivalent to a martial artist entering an iron coffin. They were confined in a small space and could not move freely. They would not be able to use 50% of their abilities. Furthermore, most of the gunmen were in the first vehicle. For other masters who had not reached the inhuman stage, they might not be able to seize such an opportunity. But in his eyes, they were living targets for him, who could release his supernatural ability and whose power had long increased. All right. Yenjika rationally knew that she shouldn't say more, but she couldn't help adding, "Call me later, I'll wait for you, no problem." Lu Qing answered with a smile and hung up the phone. He handed his phone and wallet to Zhang Xiaozi and said, "You stay a little further away." A broken phone was very troublesome, and he couldn't immediately call Ku. And his wallet couldn't be harmed, because it was a gift from his wife. Okay. Senior, please be careful." Zhang Xiaozi was delighted. She took the things and quickly retreated. At 4:26, Si Jianting's motorcade started moving, heading towards the exit of the Linfu building. Most of the bodyguards were in the first vehicle, and he himself was in the second. On his left and right were Wilson and Huang Qingda, and there was another bodyguard in the passenger seat. When the first vehicle turned into the wide and empty road, the second vehicle was about to turn when Lu Qing, who was calmly standing in front of them, suddenly took a step forward. His aura suddenly flared up, like a whistling northern wind, making the hearts of a few pedestrians tremble. They instinctively fled to the distance, avoiding this place. Paw! Lu Qing stepped on the ground, his body arched, and his left and right hands extended forward. With a hook and a shake, he threw out 2 balls of scarlet flames close to the ground. The light flickered, and a tyrannical aura was hidden. The 2 flames dragged along scorch marks as they rapidly wandered. They respectively rushed towards the 2 vehicles, both aiming for the gas tank. Squeak! An ear-piercing screech of friction rang out, dragging on for a long time. The vehicles in front and behind respectively turned their steering wheels in an attempt to avoid the terrifying-looking flame. Boom! The burning flame aimed at the bodyguard's vehicle in front exploded ahead of time. A wave of fire soared between it and the following vehicles, cutting off their line of sight. Bang! Lu Cheng's muscles bulged, and the concrete road under his feet cracked. He quickly threw himself at the black car Si Jianting was in. Relying on his already top-notch level 6 physical fitness, he forcibly pushed his footwork realm to the treading dipper constellation. Of course, it was only equivalent to Qiu Lin's level. It still couldn't compare to Ping Liyun's, let alone Ren Li's. Don't stop. When the burning flame came, the experienced Wisen, who had dark skin, shouted anxiously in his unfamiliar Chinese language. However, he couldn't stop human instinct. The driver had already braked and turned, creating a screeching sound and clear tire tracks. At this moment, Wilson felt a stinging pain in his side, and his hair stood on end. He sensed danger approaching. He didn't even think about it. He immediately took a deep breath and fiercely swung his elbow, hitting the car door. Bang! The joint between the two sides of the car door split open in an instant, and it transformed into a steel shield that flew out. For Wilson, this could create trouble for the enemy, and it could also help him break away from the vehicle at a critical moment. If he was blocked in such a narrow space, it would be very difficult to use his fists and feet. However, Lu Cheng's speed was faster than his reaction, exceeding his imagination. When the joint of the car door had split open, he was already close. His waist sank and swung, his qi and blood converged and released. His right arm suddenly became thick, and his palm pressed against the car door. Bang! The car door that was about to fly out was forcibly pressed down. It caved in and twisted out of shape, exposing wires, components, and other things. It smashed into Wilson's body, making him feel a burst of pain and dizziness. At this moment, Si Jianting, who had experienced several similar incidents, shrank back and made space. Huang Qingda, who had already pulled out his gun, fired a shot at the deformed car door from the other side. Bang! As soon as he tried to pull the trigger, Lu Qing sensed it. He straightened his back, hung his feet upside down, and flipped over to the roof of the car in time to avoid the bullet. The other car hadn't yet stopped, and the bodyguards still hadn't gotten out. Their line of sight was blocked by the waves of fire. The sparse passing cars noticed the abnormality and promptly responded. Because of the location Lu Qing had chosen, they weren't affected too much. Some people even wanted to stop and watch the show. Bang! Lu Cheng's wrist shook again, and a red fireball took shape. It smashed into the roof of the car where Huang Qingda was, causing him to sense it. He shot a bird at the sky, and with a bang, the fireball exploded. Seizing this opportunity, Lu Qing pulled back and landed on the ground again before the bodyguard in the front passenger seat could react. His left hand promptly threw out a ball of sparkling and translucent white cold light, hitting the head of Wilson, who was dizzy and didn't have the space to dodge. With a dull pop, a layer of ice crystals and thick frost condensed on the outside of Wilson's head, and he temporarily lost consciousness. With a step, Lu Qing rushed to the back of the car before Huang Qingda and the bodyguards in the front row could open fire. His body arched, and his two hands clasped together. His muscles swelled with Dan force. Gotcha! Lu Cheng's eyebrows furrowed, and the spider web under his feet spread outward. He lifted and lifted his arms, and with the strength to uproot a mountain, he directly flipped the black car to the side. Bang bang! Huang Qingda and the bodyguards in the front row could no longer aim, and 2 bullets shot into the flower bed beside them. While they were panicking and lacked the space to dodge, Lu Qing flashed like a ghost and arrived in front of Huang Qingda's car door. He avoided the front, and through the broken and deformed gap, he formed a seal with both hands and said in a low voice, "Soldier." The car flipped, and Huang Qingde knew it was dangerous. He was preparing to shoot left and right to force the enemy to retreat, and then take Xi Jianting to leave the car and approach the other bodyguards. But his mind suddenly buzzed, as if he had seen a childhood nightmare. For a moment, he shivered, unable to make any other response. At this time, a white cold light flew in from the gap and smashed into his face. It also condensed a thick layer of frost, making him lose consciousness. Ice burning directly hit the head, and its effect was only slightly worse than severe warning. It also had a stun effect. Bang! Lu Qing used his strength to pull the car door open, but his body didn't go over. Bang! Xi Jianting's face was ferocious as he fired, but the bullet fell into empty space. From the other car, the bodyguards rushed out, some carrying guns, some carrying knives. Bang bang bang. In the midst of Xi Jianting's gunshots, Lu Cheng's steps created a strong wind, and he jumped onto Vincent's side of the car door. His hands shook, and he threw a cold light of ice burning at the bodyguards in the front row who were trying to shoot in fear, and at the still unaware Xi Jianting. With 2 puffs, the 2 level 9 bodyguards were covered in white frost and turned into ice sculptures for a short time. Lu Qing leaned down and first picked up Vincent. He used it as a weapon and threw it at the bodyguards who were trying to aim at him, making them dodge or turn into bowling balls. Immediately after, he grabbed Xi Jianting again and showed him to the surrounding people. Immediately, the bodyguards stopped their efforts, not daring to make any more movements. Lu Qing pressed down on Xi Jianting, who was still shivering, and said to the bodyguards in a calm tone, "You still dare to stay here? You're armed with weapons, and you're fighting a gun battle on the street. The police will be here soon." These words made the bodyguards completely recover their calm. Seeing that their boss had already been caught, and that they were powerless to reverse the situation, they looked at each other and immediately scattered like birds and animals, escaping without a trace. The only ones left were the still not recovered Vincent, Huang Qingde, and the bodyguards in the front row. Recalling the classic bad guys he had seen, Lu Qing extended his hand and helped Xi Jianting, whose spirit was gradually returning to normal, pat the frost off his collar. He smiled slightly and said, "Boss Xi, can we have a good talk with our ice god sect now?" Across the road, Zhang Xiaozi blankly looked at the time on her phone. 4:28. Chapter 432. 4:28 p.m. Looking at the young man in deep navy blue, Xi Jianting's face was still ferocious. His teeth chattered because of the cold, but he didn't answer a single word, as if he wasn't willing to reveal anything. Lu Qing knew that saving a person was like putting out a fire, so he didn't delay. He immediately put on a serious expression and visualized the sharp and cold army character in his mind. He didn't make any hand seals, nor did he speak in the ancient language. He only combined the bloody feeling of the battlefield with his own terrifying aura. Combined with the words in his mouth, he pressured Xi Jianting's spirit. "Where is Li Zhenhua?" Lu Qing shouted in a deep voice. Xi Jianting inexplicably shivered, and his body trembled. But after so many years of bloodshed in war-torn areas, he stubbornly refused to admit defeat, and retained the last of his bearing as an ambitious person. Lu Qing narrowed his eyes and spoke again. "Where is Li Zhenhua? Where is Li Zhenhua?" The 2 voices were like thunder in his ears. Xi Jianting's eyes couldn't help but reveal a sense of fear, as if he had returned to his youth when he was imprisoned in that warlord's water prison. "Where is Li Zhenhua?" Lu Cheng's aura flared, and the surroundings seemed to be filled with the smell of blood. I'll talk." Xi Jianting couldn't hold on any longer. His spirit completely collapsed, as if he had seen death, seen the end of the world. A suspicious wetness appeared in his pants, and with snot and tears, he wailed, "I'll talk. I'll tell you everything." He's not dead, he's not dead. He's in my 19th floor office's secret room. Following Si Jianting's stammering confession, Lu Qing more or less figured out what had happened. Last night, after Li Zhenhua had infiltrated, he'd relied on the tips of the spies he bribed to find the account books of Si Jianting's casino, as well as a batch of contraband smuggled from the war-torn areas, and other key evidence. But when he'd finished collecting and was preparing to leave, he'd been discovered by the night patrol Wisin, who'd suddenly launched a sneak attack and smoothly captured him. Afterwards, Si Jianting, who'd suspected that his mortal enemy had set him up, secretly rushed over under Huang Qingdao's protection. He'd tortured Li Zhenhua, and found out that he was an ice god sect disciple. Si Jianting's head immediately swelled. He could almost imagine the pressure he'd have to bear at dawn. At this point, it was impossible for them to send Li Zhenhua away politely, because the other party already knew a lot of decisive things, and there was a deep hatred between them. They had no choice but to deal with the surveillance video overnight. Then, they found a connection to stall for time and began to destroy the evidence in batches. Once he'd perfected his plan, Si Jianting didn't leave things to chance. He immediately made arrangements to escape, planning to go to the warlord in the war-torn areas to avoid the limelight. As for Li Zhenhua, he wanted to directly silence him, but he didn't dare to make a move. This was because, under the circumstances where all the suspicions pointed towards him, once he killed an ice god sect disciple or made him disappear for real, it would thoroughly enrage that colossus. Who knows, it might even send an inhuman or even a physical invulnerability expert to kill him. Escaping to a collaborator that wasn't considered strong would only make the other party even more fearless. Therefore, Si Jianting was prepared to temporarily spare Li Zhenhua this time. In any case, what should have escaped had already escaped, what should have been destroyed had already been destroyed, and what should have been dealt with had already been dealt with. Afterwards, he'd look for an opportunity to create an accident. Under the premise that no one would suspect him, he'd erase this enemy that hated him. Finally, he'd change his appearance, return to his hometown, and take back his property. Why do people who do criminal things like to keep accounts? Lu Qing recalled the TV dramas and novels he'd seen before, and silently complained. Afterwards, he picked up Si Jianting, who'd collapsed into a pile of mud, and circled around to Huang Qingdao's side. He lifted his knee, tapped the ground with the tip of his foot, and kicked Huang Qingdao's ear, making this dance stage martial artist completely pass out. With his other hand, he pulled Huang Qingdao and lifted him up. Lu Qing did the same to Wilson and the bodyguard in the front passenger seat, but he didn't stop the driver from escaping. The reason why he wanted to go through so much trouble was because he felt that he had to do things cleanly. What if Wilson and Huang Qingdao were lunatics, and after escaping, wanted to retaliate against him and the people of the Ice God sect? The other bodyguards didn't have this ability, but they did. Since that was the case, he might as well just throw them both to the local police station, and then exert pressure through the sect to sentence them to death. The bodyguard in the front passenger seat didn't have this kind of treatment. After being knocked out by Lu Qing, he was directly thrown into the flower bed. If he could wake up before the police arrived, he could count himself lucky. Lu Qing had just stacked Wilson and Huang Qingdao together, making it easier for him to drag them away with one hand, when Zhang Xiaozi ran over in surprise and joy, crossing the road that almost all the cars had already taken a detour. "Senior, Zhen Zhenhua is okay, right?" She gasped for breath, and asked with both expectation and apprehension. "It's not too big of a deal." Lu Qing hadn't seen the specific situation with his own eyes, so he could only answer vaguely. Zhang Xiaozi already believed him from the bottom of her heart. Hearing what he said, a brilliant smile appeared on her face. Thank you, senior." Her voice hadn't yet fallen when her cell phone suddenly rang. She picked it up and looked at it, and her expression slightly changed. "Police station." She looked at Lu Qing with a somewhat panicked expression, asking for a decision. It was obvious that after receiving the police report, the other party had guessed that the ice god's sect was on the move, and had immediately called Zhang Xiaozi, who was in charge of communication. Lu Qing pondered for 2 seconds, then calmly smiled and said, "Just tell them 5 words, no lives were lost." "Yes, senior." Zhang Xiaozi suddenly had a backbone again, and she hurriedly answered the phone. After she made a few yes sounds, she imitated Lu Cheng's tone just now, and calmly said, "Don't worry, no lives were lost." The other end of the phone was silent. Lu Qing saw that Li Zhenhua was no longer in imminent danger, and he was afraid that his little fairy would worry for too long, so he temporarily stopped dragging Wilson and Huang Qingda into the Linfu building. He took back his wallet and cell phone from Zhang Xiaozi, and dialed a number. He held Xi Jianting in one hand, and his foot was pressed against Wilson and Huang Qingda. He calmly stood there in navy blue, and then looked at the cars in the distance that were taking a detour, waiting for his wife to answer. 4:32 p.m. When the call connected, Lu Qing was afraid that Yanjika would misunderstand, so he rushed to open his mouth first. "Hello, Ku." Yanjika clearly exhaled, and her tone was filled with joy as she asked, "You gave up?" "No, it's already been solved." Lu Qing laughed softly. Beside him, Zhang Xiaozi was stunned. The professional and serious senior actually had this side of his chest that resonated with his laughter. "Solved? It's only been a few minutes." Didn't you say that a small matter had become a big trouble?" Yanjika was shocked and at a loss. Her body and mind relaxed, and she was so happy that she was about to explode. Hearing his little fairy's clear and surprised voice, Lu Qing couldn't help but brag. He lightly laughed and said, "I made a mistake in my judgment. For me in the past, it was indeed a big trouble, but for me now, it's just a small matter." "You're bragging." Yanjika was angry, amused, and happy at the same time. How could Cheng make the mistake of not knowing himself and not knowing the enemy? "Yes, I'm bragging. Coach Yen knows me best." Lu Cheng's old face reddened, and he calmly admitted, "It's mainly because their posture was too good, so the matter is simple. I'll tell you the details later." Yes. Yanjika's voice was light and quick. Lu Qing thought for a moment and laughed softly. "I have a goal. I'll strive to make today's kind of trouble into a small matter within 4 months." "I'll remember it for you," Yanjika replied with a smile. After a few seconds of silence, she softly said, "Qing, hubby, next time this kind of thing happens, remember to ask clearly before deciding whether or not to go." "Okay." Lu Qing felt pity in his heart, and solemnly promised. But things were always developing and changing. It was very difficult to say that asking clearly at the beginning would solve the problem. It was more important to rely on the-spot judgment and knowing when to retreat. Hanging up the phone, Lu Qing carried Xi Jianting in one hand and dragged Wilson and Huang Qingda in the other. Under the panicked and scared gazes of the people in the Linfu building, he calmly and steadily boarded the special elevator and arrived at the 19th floor. According to Xi Jianting's instructions, he had Zhang Xiaozi open a secret room and saw a young man with many scars curled up unconscious on the floor. "Zhenhua." Zhang Xiaozi threw herself at him. Lu Qing gave Xi Jianting, Wilson, and Huang Qingda each a few more times and threw them beside the guest's sofa. Then he entered the secret room and checked Li Zhenhua's injuries. His life isn't in danger. He made a judgment and ordered Zhang Xiaozi, "Call the police and tell them to call an ambulance when they come." "Okay, senior." Zhang Xiaozi breathed a sigh of relief. Her heart settled, and she began to dial the number. Lu Qing reported to his master and let the sect handle the aftermath. 4:37. The sound of police cars and ambulance sirens rang out at the same time. 4:40. Outside Xi Jianting's office, the sound of footsteps could be heard. A group of policemen rushed in and saw a young man wearing a navy blue martial arts suit sitting on the sofa with his head down playing with his phone. His bearing was calm and his posture was leisurely. At his feet, Wilson, Huang Qingda, and Si Jianting were lying in a mess, overlapping each other. They were all unconscious. That famous Linbian big shot's body was even slightly trembling, faintly emitting a foul smell. On the other side, Zhang Xiaozi, wearing a short-sleeved shirt, shorts, and jogging shoes, stood quietly like a maid. Her eyes occasionally drifted to Li Zhenhua, who was lying on another sofa. Lu Qing raised his head, smiled at the leading police officer, and asked calmly, "What's the matter?" He asked calmly, "Can I go now?" The police officer was silent at first. Looking at the unconscious Li Zhenhua, he nodded heavily. "Yes. That's good." Lu Qing slowly got up. Under the watchful eyes of the police officers and Zhang Xiaozi, he walked out unhurriedly. The office quieted down. Everyone could faintly hear him making a phone call in the elevator. "Hello, Mom, I might be an hour late for dinner." An hour late for dinner. The police officers and Zhang Xiaozi looked at each other. Leaving the Linfu building, Lu Qing waved his hand to stop a taxi and sat in the back. "Go to the Four Joys store," he calmly ordered. His phone's display switched from the booking app to the search page for Linbian specialties. The driver started the car and asked, Hey, was there a gunfight at Lin Fu's side just now? I heard it was very intense." Lu Qing smiled and said, "I didn't watch, so I'm not too sure." "Well, there will be news later." The driver didn't say anything more. 4:52 p.m. In the Four Joys store, Lu Qing carefully selected 2 boxes of osmanthus cake and 2 cans of matsutake sauce. Then he went next door and bought some mangosteen and other special fruits. 5:19 p.m. He arrived at the high-speed railway station and received a call from Geezer Shi. "You handled it well today." Comrade Shi Jiangwo praised and then said, "Remember, nothing can go exactly as expected. Today, I am mainly training your ability to deal with accidents and changes. If you improve in this aspect, you won't be flustered when you encounter an accident in the future and won't be in danger." "You're right." Lu Qing suddenly realized that he had misunderstood his master and thought that he was unreliable. When he hung up the phone, he suddenly had doubts and muttered, what he said just now couldn't be an excuse made up by his master to cover up his unreliability, right? This is his style. 5:35 p.m. The high-speed railway started to move. Lu Qing leaned back comfortably and played with his phone. 7:25 p.m. Li Zhenhua woke up in the Linbian hospital. After seeing Zhang Xiaozi beside him, he anxiously asked, "Did you catch Si Jianting?" "Yes, your sect sent a young senior to deal with him." Zhang Xiaozi answered truthfully. Li Zhenhua immediately relaxed, his expression was absent-minded. After a few seconds, he regained his composure and muttered, "Young senior Weiss, where's the senior?" he asked. "He left in the afternoon," Zhang Xiaozi said in detail. "Well, when did the senior come?" Li Zhenhua asked casually. Zhang Xiaozi's tone suddenly became very strange. "Also in the afternoon, 7:29 p.m. Backwater Lake. At the entrance of the villa community. Yenjika, wearing a short sleeves and a long skirt, trotted out. She tilted her head slightly and looked at Lu Qing. "You're still not going back to eat. Why did you come to find me first?" Lu Qing lifted the osmanthus cake, matsutake sauce, and southern fruits in his hand and laughed softly. "I brought you some Linbian specialties." Chapter 433. Yenjika's white gauze dress was long enough to reach the center of her face. Standing in the night wind, she looked elegant and refined. Hearing Lu Cheng's words, she was stunned at first. Then she squinted her eyes and looked to the side. She raised her chin slightly, her hair swaying, and her dimples showing. "Do you think you can please me like this?" While speaking, she had already reached for the bag of Linbian specialties. Without any delay, she looked down curiously to see what was inside. "How can I please my wife when I love her? Every time I go to a place, the first thing that comes to my mind is to find something fun, beautiful, and delicious to share with my coup. Today, when I'm done with my business and have some free time, I came up with a similar idea. But I'm in a rush and don't have much time, so I can't shop around. I'll try it out first. I can only search online to confirm, buy it, and leave." Listening to her ex-boyfriend, who was now her husband, Yenjika's eyes sparkled and her lips curved into a happy smile. She felt a little shy and subconsciously lowered her head to look at the osmanthus cake, matsutake sauce, and special fruits in the bag. She glanced around and saw Lu Qing carrying another similar bag in his left hand. She, who considered herself to be the most intelligent person in the family, changed the topic thoughtfully. "Are these for Auntie and Uncle?" "Yeah. My mom was complaining on the phone about why I went to Linbian without telling her. Yesterday I even said that I was drooling all the way home from her cooking, but today I didn't come home on time." Lu Qing smiled. The specialties he picked were always double. "You told Auntie that you were going to Linbian?" Yenjika asked in surprise. "I just mentioned that my master asked me to go there to deal with a small matter and I would be back soon." Lu Qing considered his words and said, "I really thought so at first. Linbian security is not good compared to places like Songsheng and Huahai. Generally, there won't be any bad encounters. Because of the tight schedule, he couldn't explain in detail on the phone. Now he felt that it was necessary to explain that he and Ku were already husband and wife. They shouldered the responsibility of each other and their lives were no longer his. "Why are you saying this? I'm not blaming you. I have a bunch of people from Shushen study in my family, and I often see similar things. Moreover, the missions given by the sect are generally not difficult and not dangerous. If a body refining expert can't do it, the ordinary Dan stage expert can't do it. If an ordinary Dan stage expert can't do it, the high-end human stage expert can't do it. If a high-end human stage expert can't do it, the high-end human stage expert can't do it. If a high-end human stage expert can't do it, the high-end human stage expert can't do it. If a high-end human stage expert can't do it, the high-end human stage expert will do it." "You said that when you went to Linbian to deal with the sect's affairs, I just felt that the security there wasn't very good, and that there might be some accidents, so I told you not to hold back when you encountered something, so as to avoid capsizing in the gutter. Well, other than being a little worried, I didn't think there was any problem. Later on, a small matter turned into a big problem, and it wasn't something you could control. You told me in advance, and you only did it when you had absolute confidence." Yenjika suddenly paused. She pouted and wrinkled her nose. Then she said in a sobbing tone, "Oh, I can't go on." Her eyes instantly turned red. "I understand all these, but when it really happened, I still felt very sad, very, very worried. When you called me for the second time, I was so afraid that someone else was using your phone to inform me of something bad. I was so scared." At this time, she stopped talking and looked at Lu Qing with a bit of grievance and hatred. She ground her teeth and said, "Qing, let me bite you." Lu Qing was moved by the girl's contrasting feelings. Thinking of her worries at that time, he couldn't help but feel pity for her. He replied softly, "Okay." Yenjika immediately stepped forward and buried her head in Lu Cheng's shoulder. Her mouth was at the juncture of his shoulder and neck, and she opened her pink lips, revealing her teeth. Lu Qing relaxed his muscles and didn't use force instinctively, preparing to be bitten hard. However, the pain didn't come. He only felt the girl's teeth lightly knocking on his skin twice, and then it turned into a warm kiss. What if I can't bear to bite you? Yenjike didn't raise her head and said with grievance. Lu Cheng's heart trembled when he heard that. The bag in his hand fell to the ground gently. He couldn't help but raise his hands to hug the girl, his wife. He gently stroked her hair and back, and lowered his head to kiss her head continuously. Yenjike quietly felt for a while, still burying her head in Lu Cheng's shoulder. She said softly, I know, no matter how safe a small matter is, there can be unexpected changes and develop into danger. I can't lock you at home, tie you to me, and forbid you to do anything. I just want you to be more careful in the future. Don't take risks, and don't take actions until you are absolutely sure. If you have time, try to tell me in detail so that I can feel more confident. When you encounter difficulties, don't force yourself. Leave when you have to, and ask the sect for help when you have to. Okay. Lu Cheng nodded solemnly. Yenjike was silent for a few seconds, and suddenly sighed. If only my body was fine and I could reach the Dan stage. Then, I could do these things with you, just like my grandma and grandpa. I'm so envious of them. Every couple situation is different. You can't force yourself to be the same as others. Lu Cheng thought for a while and comforted his wife. If you really do these things with me, I can't calm down. I'll be worried about you all the time, and I won't be able to use my full strength. The sky gradually darkened, and the moon rose. The two leaned against each other and talked for a while, communicating with each other. After 7 or 8 minutes, Yenjike, who had calmed down, pushed Lu Cheng away and said with a smile, You should go back and eat. I can hear your stomach rumbling. Okay, I'll walk you to the gate of the community. Lu Cheng blushed. No, it's just a few steps. Yenjike stepped back slightly with her skirt fluttering. After 2 steps, she suddenly stopped, turned around and looked at Lu Cheng. She covered her mouth and smiled. Cheng, there was a moment just now when I thought you would persuade me to go on a date with you before going home. There was a moment when I thought so. Since someone can't bear to bite me, of course I have to take good care of her. Lu Cheng chuckled. But Empress Dowager and father-in-law are still waiting for you. You can't take 2 or 3 hours to get a gift, right? What will they think of me then? That's right. If you told Auntie that it would be a few hours later and that we could just have a meal outside, she would beat you up. Yenjike teased. Lu Cheng shook his head and laughed. In the end, he said, and I remember that someone said that every time we meet, every time we go on a date, we have to pay attention to spiritual communication. It's also good to take a walk, talk, watch TV series, watch a TV show, and do homework together. During those days in Songqing, I felt that you weren't very willing, but in the end, you accommodated me. It's not that I wasn't willing or didn't like it. Bah, I just didn't like it. Yenjike rolled her eyes at Lu Cheng shyly. Just like what you said, girls also pay attention to other aspects besides sex. There were a few times when I thought that we had just gotten married and you were so eager for it. I didn't know why my heart softened and I just let you do whatever you want. And there was also the factor of the impending departure and the crazy idea of throwing the decision to God. Even now, he still had a little bit of impulse. Maybe every girl has such an irrational and crazy side. After a few more words, they waved goodbye. After watching the girl's beautiful figure enter the neighborhood, Lu Cheng returned home with the gift. You're back. I've eaten with your dad. I'll heat up the food first. Chi Fong got up from the sofa and said matter-of-factly. She didn't want to wait for her son to come back to eat together. She's really my mother. Lu Cheng handed the bag over and said with a smile, Mom, Dad, I bought some Lean Bien specialties for you. You went there to do something, and you bought some specialties. Qi Fang said with a bright smile. Lu Jisheng asked reservedly, why did your sect ask you to go to Linbian? Why are you back so soon? Just a small matter that needed someone to come out. It was solved in a few minutes. Lu Qing answered vaguely. Qi Fang took the bag and said casually, Linbian security is not good. Why did your master ask you to go there? It's okay. It's very strict in China. No matter how bad Linbian security is, it's not that bad. If you don't go to crowded and chaotic places, don't take the remote road at night, and don't cause trouble, it's quite safe there. Otherwise, how can the people there live? Lu Qing responded with a smile. Okay. Qi Fang didn't say more. She heated up the dishes and brought them out again. Then she and Lu Jisheng gathered around and watched their son gobble up the food. Your dad was still worried when you went to Linbian. Just now, he was watching the TV station alone to see if there was any news. Qi Fang laughed at Lu Jisheng. I just happened to get it. Lu Jisheng coughed. Lu Cheng's heart felt warm and he ate even more happily. The family was happy and harmonious, talking and laughing. Suddenly, a sound came from the TV, but it didn't enter their ears. Linbian TV station news, this afternoon, a serious gun case occurred in the Linfu building at the intersection of Jiuxing Road. The case has been solved. The main suspects, Xi Jianting, Huang Qingda, and others have been arrested. After eating and drinking, Lu Qing returned to his room and turned on the computer, ready to see if the afternoon's video had been uploaded. Fortunately, he was decisive in his work and finished in less than 2 minutes. Many people didn't even have time to react. Moreover, the scene at that time was so shocking that no one dared to approach. Therefore, only a few blurry videos and photos were leaked. Well, this is standard. Even my mom wouldn't recognize me. Lu Qing laughed and sighed in relief. Later, with the sex suppression, this matter couldn't spread. Just as he was about to close the web page, a message came in on QQ. Wonton Seller asked, Little Tiger, didn't you see the news in the group? Everyone is going to Huaqing for a meetup on the 15th. Do you want to come? Huaqing, where the Longhu Club was located. I probably won't come. Lu Qing thought for a moment before replying. A year ago, he was quite interested in the meetups. But in the past year, he mostly browsed without saying anything. His interactions with them had decreased, and he was unfamiliar with them. If he went, he would feel quite awkward. Chapter 434. Hey, aren't you on holiday? Wonton Seller asked with a surprised expression. Lu Qing replied with a silly smile, I'm busy meeting my girlfriend's parents. I don't have much time. Ko is going abroad soon. The most important thing is to accompany her. Pfft. Little Tiger, you're not in your 3rd year yet. Why are you meeting the parents? No, are you getting pregnant? You're going to be a father in university. Wonton Seller's gossipy soul seemed to have been ignited. You're thinking too much. Lu Qing sighed and said, I'm an adult and my relationship was discovered. I might as well meet the parents. Oh. Wonton Seller looked very disappointed. Then, she said in a serious tone, Little Tiger, you value your boyfriend more than your friends. Ever since you started dating, you haven't been to the forum much. You don't chat much in the group either. Didn't you join the martial arts club back then? Did you neglect it after you started dating? Cover mouth laughing emoji, that's not true. I signed up for the martial arts club to pursue my girlfriend. This is my daily life. How can I neglect it? Lu Qing replied with a snickering emoji. Your girlfriend sounds awesome. She's a Wulin master. What pin is she? Wonton seller replied with a shocked emoji. Lu Qing answered honestly, professional 9th pin. But I haven't gone to the competition to get my certificate. Professional 9th pin. Wonton seller widened her eyes and continued, then, little tiger, aren't you in danger of being beaten up by domestic violence? Your status in the family is worrying. Lu Qing laughed and said, beating is a sign of love. What's there to be afraid of? TSK. You're not that shy and honest little tiger anymore. Are you sure you don't want to join this meetup? Wonton seller tempted again. Don't you want to meet everyone face to face? Don't you want to see how they've grown in the past 2 years? Little Fish got his professional 9th pin certificate last year and is working hard to reach the Dan stage. Little Ring is becoming a business elite with the help of his family's resources. The future big shots, Little Ma, Little Dragon, Little Pig Riding, and Little Kong are all going to join. She listed more than 10 forum members in one breath and dropped a bomb at the end. Don't you want to watch Dragon King's match live? The Little Pig Riding rider got a ticket. Similarly, the manager of a large number of fan gatherings had a certain connection with the corresponding club and had the opportunity to obtain internal tickets. Are you talking about the match between Longhu and Shangqing sect on the 16th? Asked Lu Qing. Because there was a title battle on the weekend, this match was scheduled for the middle of the week. Yes. Are you tempted? Do you want to join? Wonton seller asked with a, do you know Amway, spirit? Lu Qing thought for a while and felt that it was still quite awkward, so he firmly refused. Forget it. I really don't have time. Alright, then I'll look for you when we meet again. Wonton seller sighed in disappointment. You and Xiao Fan are really two extremes. One doesn't turn up no matter how we invite her, and the other wants to attend no matter how hard we try to stop her. Tell me, a 14-year-old girl who isn't even in her 3rd year of middle school came all the way to watching to meet her online friend. How can we be responsible? Her parents probably won't agree to it either. Lu Qing had some understanding of Brahman's temper. You guys try to persuade her. Just tell her that we'll meet again after she goes to university. We've been persuading her like this every day. Wonton seller smiled and cried. I even want to contact her parents directly. Lu Qing said a few words in agreement, and then asked, Little Wonton, what major are you going to study? Her college entrance exam results seem to be okay. I'm still quite confused. I'm quite good at foreign languages, maybe I'll study something related. Wonton seller answered with uncertainty. Then she waved her hand and said, I'm going to discuss with them about the meetup. Little tiger, if you have the chance in the future, you must join us. Okay, bye. Lu Qing replied perfunctorily. After a while, Yenjike came out of the bathroom and replied to the message. He shared the news with his wife. Longhu vs. Shangqing. Dragon King vs. Warrior Sage. Scratching chin expression with rolling eyes expression, Yenjike said, I really want to watch. We haven't watched a professional match live together. Cheng. Let me invite you on a date. Let's go watch the match live, not the meetup. We'll go by ourselves. I want to have a good time before I go abroad. Okay. Lu Qing replied excitedly. Then he asked, does this count as a honeymoon? If you say so, arms akimbo expression, Yenjika looked at the sky. I'll get the tickets. You go and prepare the itinerary. Okay. Lu Qing quickly booked the tickets and hotels and flipped through Huaqing's travel guide. I didn't expect to go there in the end, but the purpose was different. After everything was done, Yenjika suddenly sent a crying expression. What should I do? I'm so nervous when I think about meeting uncle and auntie tomorrow. It's mom and dad. Lu Qing deliberately corrected her. Even more nervous. Crying expression, Yenjika replied. What are you afraid of? Just answer whatever they ask. If you can't answer, just look at me and I'll answer. If there's nothing else to talk about, I'll show you around my room to avoid awkwardness. Lu Qing could understand Yenjika's current state of mind. Do you want to help set the table and tidy up when you eat? No, you're a guest the first time. Really? Just treat it like you're at home. You can do what you do at home. The two of them chatted for a long time on this topic. In the end, Yenjika decided to follow Lu Chang's instructions and show her true colors. The next morning, Lu Qing finished his training on time. After breakfast, he changed his clothes and took a taxi to the Yen residence at Backwater Lake. After a few minutes, Yenjika walked out wearing a short-sleeved shirt, a smock, a knee-length skirt and a pair of white shoes. Her hair was tied into a half-bun to show off her gentle and sweet side. She was carrying a few bags of things in her hands, neither too much nor too little. What are these? Lu Qing asked curiously as he took them and held her delicate hand. Tea leaves, health supplements and fruits. My mom said that girls should be reserved on their first visit and not take too much. Anyway, I don't know. If she says so, then so be it. Yenjika pursed her lips and teased herself. Qing, my current expression is smiling with self-abandonment. It's not that serious. I'm here. Lu Qing comforted her. After a while, they got into the car and arrived at Lu Chang's residential area. As they walked in, the neighbors' eyes were like searchlights. Coming. On the 5th floor of the 8th building, Qi Fang shouted to the balcony with her phone. Lu Jisheng, who had specially asked for leave today, walked back to the living room and coughed. I'm just going to smoke. He didn't look at the road downstairs to see if his son and daughter-in-law had arrived. Qi Fang squinted at him and said sarcastically, Didn't you say it was not a big deal? Why are you smoking? Lu Jisheng sighed with a smile. Alas, I thought it would take another 4 or 5 years. Who knew it would happen so soon? Yeah, it's like a dream. Qing seems to be 10 years older all of a sudden. Qi Fang sighed with emotion. Then her face changed. Go sit down. They're going upstairs. In less than a minute, the door opened and Lu Qing led Yenjika in. He bent down and gave her a new pair of slippers that he bought yesterday. After changing, Yenjika saw Qi Fang and Lu Jisheng coming over. She panicked and blurted out before Lu Qing introduced her, Hello, uncle, auntie. Hello. Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang looked at their future daughter-in-law with a smile. Lu Qing handed over the things in his hand. Mom, Dad, this is for Ku. Oh, you're too polite. You don't have to bring these. Qi Fang took it with a smile and glanced at what was in the bag. Come, sit down. Lu Jisheng pointed at the sofa in the living room. Yenjika nodded shyly and was led to the sofa by Lu Qing. After the 4 of them sat down, Lu Jisheng casually found a topic. Jika, what's your major in Songqing University? Economics. Yenjika answered concisely. Qi Fang said with a smile, You two were classmates in high school and college. What a coincidence. Did you meet in the martial arts club? Yes. I saw the ranking in high school and knew Lu Qing, but I didn't know who he was. Yenjika glanced at Lu Qing with a smile. Who would have thought today would come? Qi Fang thought it was quite amazing. The family began to chat harmoniously. Lu Qing was responsible for livening up the atmosphere and answering some questions. He also paid attention to the situation at all times. He planned to take his wife to do other things when they had nothing to talk about, so as to avoid the awkwardness of forced conversation. After a while, there was a sudden knocking sound at the door. Who is it? Lu Qing turned to the door in confusion. He walked over and opened the door. It was his cousin, Ma Shi, standing outside. Ma Shi raised her eyebrows playfully and poked her head into the room. She smiled at Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang and said, "Uncle, Aunt, my mom said that the chili sauce you made last time was very delicious. She asked me to come and get some more. Why didn't you say so earlier?" Qi Fang complained and went to the kitchen. Ma Shi entered the room and glanced at Yenjika. She smiled sweetly and said, "Hello, sister-in-law." "Hello." Yenjika blushed at his greeting. Lu Qing hurriedly introduced, "This is Ma Shi, my cousin. She is more naughty than before." "Of course not." Ma Shi protested. She looked at them for a while and left with the chili sauce. The family chatted for less than 10 minutes before they heard another knock at the door. "Who is it?" Lu Qing reluctantly got up and walked over. "Aunt." He opened the door and was surprised to see Lu Yanwei's mother, Wang Lily. Wang Lily smiled and raised the bottle in her hand. "Brother, Qi Fang, Jiqiang picked up some bones to make wine. I brought you a bottle." "I was just talking." Lu Jisheng stood up and smiled. Wang Lily entered the room and looked Yenjika up and down with a smile on her face. Yenjika hurriedly said, "Hello, Aunt." "Hello," Wang Lily replied with a smile. Lu Qing finally realized that they were all here to look for trouble. They just wanted to see their own wife. When Wang Lily came home, they continued their previous conversation until Qi Fang was ready to cook. At this moment, there was another knock at the door. Lu Qing and Yenjika looked at each other. Feeling both annoyed and amused, they went to the entrance and opened the door. It was Lu Yanwei outside. Seeing Lu Cheng's unkind expression, he smiled awkwardly and said, "I was passing by and had a stomachache. So I came to the bathroom." Chapter 435. The sky was dark, and the summer night came especially late. A gentle breeze blew around the backwater lake, dispelling some of the dampness. "Sigh, my family came to see you one by one without saying anything." Lu Qing held Yenjika's hand, lamenting about what had happened in the morning. Especially Lu Yanwei, his unreliable brother, whose excuses were so ridiculous that he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Fortunately, Lu Qing still had some self-awareness, so he didn't stay for dinner even though Lu Qing had warmly invited him. However, with them as a contrast, Lu Cheng's parents didn't seem so strange to Yenjika. When there were only 4 of them left, she obviously relaxed a lot. She took the initiative to praise some of the dishes, which made Lu Cheng's mother so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. After a sumptuous lunch, Lu Qing led Yenjika into his room. They shared their schoolmates' album, posters of the Mighty Ones, and detective novels that they had bought before. They spent the whole afternoon happily together. However, Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang were still at home, and they would knock on the door from time to deliver fruits, so they didn't dare to be intimate. After dinner, Lu Jisheng picked up Lu Debang and his wife. They had been worried about not having a granddaughter-in-law, but now they were very satisfied with Yenjika. Walking slowly, Yenjika relaxed her eyebrows and completely shed her previous restraint. She smiled softly and said, "It's okay. It's okay. I can understand. Really. If my brother brings his girlfriend home, I'll book a plane ticket and rush over to take a look." She was holding 2 red envelopes, one thick and one thin, from Qi Fang and Lu Debang respectively. "Your brother brings his girlfriend home." Lu Qing couldn't help laughing. It's so surreal. He couldn't imagine how his brother-in-law would treat his girlfriend if he had a girlfriend. "I think so too." Yenjika didn't defend her cousin Lin Quebec. Instead, she nodded seriously. Lu Qing glanced at Yenjika's pink bag and red envelope and said, "Why don't you put it in?" It's a burden to hold it in your hand. I like to hold it. What's wrong with that? Yenjika answered briskly, holding the red envelope and shaking it proudly. Okay. As long as you like it. After chatting for a while, Lu Qing remembered something and asked, Ku, when are we going to your grandpa's house? Well, maybe not. Yenjika tilted her head and looked at him seriously. Why? Lu Qing was confused. Yenjika burst into laughter, revealing her dimples. Because my grandparents missed me so much that they decided to come to Shushan and live there for a while. At this point, she pursed her lips and looked up. There may be other relatives coming over these few days. When they leave, I'll take you home to meet grandfather and grandmother. Otherwise, you'll feel awkward facing a large group of people all of a sudden. That's good. Lu Qing nodded in agreement. At this time, they walked to the entrance of the villa community. Yenjika waved her hand and said, Qing, I'm going in. Say hello to Empress Dowager and father-in-law for me. Lu Qing responded with a smile. After taking 2 steps, Yenjika suddenly turned around. She smiled shyly and said, Uncle, Auntie, they're nice people. I feel like we're family. After that, she shook the red packet in her hand and walked briskly past the entrance. We're a family now, silly Ku. Lu Qing chuckled as he watched her leave. In the living room of the Lu family, Qi Fang was wiping the tea table. She glanced at Lu Jisheng, who was watching the news attentively, and said, That girl Zhika is quite delicate and well-mannered. She seems to have a good family education. Yeah, she's not a naughty girl. Good. Lu Jisheng sipped his tea and nodded. While the old couple was talking, Lu Qing pushed open the door and walked in. You're back so soon. Qi Fang blurted out in surprise. Not so soon. I've already sent Ku home. Lu Qing answered blankly. Why can't you be more considerate? Why did you only send her home when you sent her home? You should take her shopping. It's just a walk. Boys should take the initiative. Qi Fang didn't dare to comment on other things, but she did watch a lot of TV series. She deeply felt that her son had no romantic cells and looked as if she expected better from him. I've already taken a walk by the lake. If it weren't for Empress Dowager waiting for me, I'd definitely take Ku for a date. It'll take at least 2 or 3 hours to get back. Lu Qing complained and changed the topic. Ku just told me in private that she feels that you two are really good friends. I'm still not a good host. Qi Fang smiled and said modestly. Lu Jisheng picked up his teacup and took a sip. He couldn't hide his smile. Lu Qing thought of something and took the initiative to bring it up. Dad, Mom, my master wants me to learn more about the kung fu of other countries and sections. I might be going to the United States more often in the future, so I'll have to stay for a long time each time. Let me teach you how to video chat, okay? Qi Fang was stunned and asked worriedly, what about Zhika? It's not a good idea to be apart all the time. Lu Qing smiled. Mom, don't worry. Uncle Yan and the others have arranged a joint training program for Ku to study in America. That's good. Qi Fang heaved a sigh of relief. You're going home for the holidays, right? Of course. Lu Qing smiled brightly. He took his parents' phones and started the teaching activity. At 8:30, after Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang had barely grasped how to video chat, he went back to his room and turned on his computer to do what he had done for the past few months. While waiting for the computer to start, he took out his phone and replied to Yenjika's messages and browsed through dozens of recent messages in various groups. Among them, in the family group, Mashi sent an emoji of drinking water. Sister-in-law, you're so beautiful. You're much prettier than on TV. Lu Yanwei didn't say anything but sent a thumbs-up emoji. Seeing that these messages were from a few hours ago, Lu Qing didn't respond and clicked on an emoji of passing by quickly. His computer was fully booted up. He opened the browser and began to browse various niche, cultivation, forums and large shopping websites. Ever since his 9 words formula became famous, items related to the Lin, Bing, Do, Zhe, all-array advance became a hot topic on the internet. Many people posted things like ancient 9 words picture, golden stone 9 seals, incomplete secret art, ancestral 9 words picture atlas, and so on. They would cheat and cheat as much as they could. After all, even sects like the Shangqing sect and Daxing Temple could not guarantee that their disciples would be able to practice something by looking at the picture. What? You said you bought my ancestral secret method but didn't practice the secret method? Boy, you're not smart enough. Here, let me introduce you another one, suitable for people with low intelligence. Is that not enough? Look at yourself in the mirror. Don't practice martial arts if you're ugly. In this situation where non-strong martial artists couldn't distinguish the real from the fake, many people thought that they had good taste and good luck. They believed that they could definitely distinguish the real from the fake and find the real secret method. Then, they would have an adventure and become the protagonist, walking to the peak of life. Lu Qing relied on his ability to return to the origin of cultivation through the remaining essence and charm of the 9 words formula. He also joined the ranks of the gold rush, hoping to find something useful. To him, with the breakthrough some time ago, the inhuman stage wasn't so far away. However, how long it would take for him to step into it was another matter. Although he had set a target of 4 months, he only had a certain degree of confidence and did not dare to say that he was certain. Therefore, in addition to the daily training of his will and martial arts, he planned to find some catalysts and primers in order to accumulate enough momentum. Within 3 to 4 months, he would be able to push past the threshold of the inhuman stage like a flood breaking through a dam. Currently, the most promising primer and catalyst was undoubtedly the remaining 9 words formula. Not only would it help him, but it also had the possibility of healing his master's injury and Ku's body. This was his main goal for this semester. In the past few months, Lu Qing had actually found many items that he himself found hard to distinguish. However, he didn't waste time to verify them himself. He directly passed the clues to Geezer Shi and asked him to pass them to the divine enchanter of Sin Flame and other seniors. Hey, if it's a liar, the military daddy will strip you of your underwear. He thought to himself. However, from the feedback from the military, they were all fake. Of course, Lu Qing wouldn't pass all the clues to the military. This was because a few of the items did have some remaining essence and charm. He could directly confirm that they were real and wanted to spend a few hundred yuan to pick them up. However, up until now, these few items were either too incomplete or had wrong charm. They hadn't given him a new 9 words formula yet. Qing, did I eat too much during lunch and dinner? Yan Zhika, who had just calmed down after taking a shower, sent a message to Lu Qing via days when she thought of this. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. Hand touching chin expression, he said, "No, I'll be the comparison." While chatting, he glanced at the computer screen from the corner of his eye. Suddenly, he was stunned. On the current page was a brocade handkerchief with the word "Do" engraved on it. It vaguely gave a feeling of fighting against the heavens and the earth. Ah! Lu Qing sat up straight, moved the mouse, and clicked on the dialog box with the seller. Where did this thing come from? He asked bluntly. The seller was called Never Miss a Chance. He replied enthusiastically, "Dear, this was passed down from my ancestors. Do you want to buy it? I've been having a hard time recently, so I'll give you a discount. 999 yuan is yours. It's the same style as Lu Chang's. Dear, the pronunciation of the word do. I mean, if you want to cheat, at least make it more real. A handkerchief needs to be old. You just bought it not long ago, right? Lu Qing said with a sneer. Dear, we're just trying to make a living. You don't have to do this. Never miss a chance. His attitude suddenly turned cold. Also, where did you copy it from? Were you cheated too? Lu Cheng's expression was solemn, but his tone sounded like he was gossiping. Chapter 436. Never misjudge seemed to have been exposed. Snorting through nostrils expression, said, damn it. That guy said that the dough character on the wine pot could definitely be passed off as genuine. In the end, after selling it for a month, it was exposed 10 times. 10 times. I'm so *king blind. Lu Qing replied with a laughing expression, what wine pot? Send it to me. Never miss a mistake. Paused for a few seconds and sent a photo to Lu Qing. In the photo was an ancient purple gold wine pot about the size of a palm. On the side of the pot was engraved the word dough character, which gave off an explosive and unyielding feeling. It was as if one could soar into the sky and wreak havoc in heaven after drinking 2 mouthfuls of the wine. It's quite stylish. The workmanship is exquisite. Lu Qing complimented and casually added, I quite like your wine pot. It's so cool. Why don't you sell it to me? Sell it to you. How can I get a handkerchief with the dough character if I sell it to you? You're ruining my business, dear. Never miss a mistake. Replied with a disdain expression. The national competition ended a few months ago. The popularity of the 9 syllables has long since passed. Your handkerchief with the dough character is getting worse and worse, right? Hurry up and sell it. Make as much money as you can. Besides, I don't believe that you don't have any handkerchiefs in stock. Lu Qing had a glib tongue. That makes sense. Never miss a mistake. Replied after a moment of silence. 1,200 yuan. Take the wine pot, 1,200 yuan. Are you kidding me? I can't give you more than 100 yuan. Lu Qing followed Coach Yan's instructions and tried to bargain. That's an insulting bargain. Dear, the cost of my handkerchief is more than 100 yuan. Let's be friends. It's 380 yuan, including shipping. Dear. Never miss a mistake. Looked like he was selling at a loss. Lu Qing thought for a while and said hesitantly, fine. You hang it up and I'll bid for it. Let's go through other channels. If I hang the wine pot up, won't it expose that I'm selling fake goods? Never miss a mistake. Suggested. Fine. Lu Qing didn't seem to care. After the deal, when he gave Lu Qing the address at the end, he considered that he could be considered a celebrity. He didn't leave the name Lu Qing and used Qi Fang instead. After he was done, he sent a photo of the wine pot to Yan Zhike and sent a snickering emoji. Look at this. Ha! The fighting formula. It feels like the fighting formula. Yan Zhike sent a dog-eyed expression. She had read the notes of the Shushan studies reverse creation of the 9 words formula. Although the fighting formula's charm had been identified as wrong by Lu Qing, it should be close enough. Yeah, I could tell at a glance. Lu Qing smiled proudly. Amazing. You are indeed my Qing. You got it. Yan Zhike was not stingy with her praise and asked happily. That's right. Even if I can't comprehend anything from it, there should be some clues hidden in it. Also, look at this wine pot. It's so well made and has an ancient charm. It's the type that my master likes. I can give it to him as a backup. Wow, it's so rare to see you care so much about Coach Shi. Yan Zhike sent an emoji with her eyes wide open. Lu Qing replied with a dumbstruck expression, "What do you mean by rare? I've always respected my master. TSK, TSK. Why do I remember that you always slandered him?" Yenjike sent an emoji with her eyes rolling. "It's called slandering but remembering," Lu Qing replied with a serious face emoji. "Is that so?" Yenjike sent an obedient emoji. "How much did you spend on this wine pot?" $380. Lu Qing sent an emoji with a covering face emoji. "In a rented house in a city in a province." Never Miss a Mistake stretched his back and hummed a little tune proudly. In front of him was the purple gold wine pot that gave off a heaven-defying vibe. He stood up and pulled open a black cloth covering a box beside him. Inside, there were dozens of wine pots of the same style neatly stacked. However, they lacked that indescribable vibe. These were all replicas that he found in a factory. The cost was quite low. "Ha, you're the kind of person who wants to trick my flagon." Never Miss a Mistake shook his head and laughed. Usually, the dough formula handkerchief was enough to deal with people who were not observant and knowledgeable. When it came to people who could see the flaws and uniqueness, he would pretend that he knew nothing and let them deceive the wine pot and sell it for a good price. For most people, who would expect a second scam after the first one? Most of them would be happy that they had successfully deceived others and picked up a bargain. Moreover, such people were more conceited. If they fell for a few hundred yuan, they would definitely not want to make it public. At most, they would scold themselves and deny it. As for the temptation of treasures, Never Miss a Mistake wasn't worried. When he found this wine pot, he thought it was really related to the dough formula. He tried to use it to please a dance stage martial artist. However, the martial artist said that it didn't contain any charm and couldn't be visualized. Besides looking good, it had no other value. Those who were deceived would understand after looking at the photo. Who would go to another province for a few hundred yuan? No matter how crafty you are, you can't escape from my grasp. Never Miss a Mistake took out a batch version of the purple gold wine pot and put it in the package. He started to fill in the express delivery form. Shushan, the next day, Lu Qing finished his training and returned home from Gushan Martial Arts School. His phone rang. The express delivery had arrived. He took the package and entered his room. He opened it and raised his eyebrows. He was both angry and amused at the same time. He logged onto the website and found Never Miss a Mistake. He said bluntly, "You must have sent the wrong one." "Of course not. Look at the photo. Isn't it exactly the same?" Never Miss a Mistake was experienced and calm. "It doesn't have the explosive and unyielding feeling in the photo." Lu Qing pointed out the key point. Never Miss a Mistake was surprised. "This is the effect of a photo. Do you know what Photoshop and retouching are? Don't tell me you don't even know how to use Photoshop." "Look, I have another one. This one is in black and white. Doesn't it have a quiet and ancient feel? Anyway, you can say whatever you want and file a complaint. I'm not afraid. I'll call the police." Lu Qing replied without anger. Seeing these words, Never Miss a Mistake immediately relaxed. The bigger the threat, the less likely the other party would follow. It was like a fight between gangsters. You had to leave some harsh words at the end. The police wouldn't file a case for a few hundred yuan. "Haha, go ahead, go ahead." Never Miss a Mistake picked up the cup and drank a mouthful of water. Lu Qing copied the link to his website and clicked on a person named Rapid March on QQ. He sent a message, "This person is very likely to have clues about the fighting formula." He used to pass clues to the military through his master, which annoyed Geezershire. Geezershire directly gave him a contact instead of being a middleman. "Got it." Rapid March's reply was concise and comprehensive. At 2:00 in the afternoon, Never Miss a Mistake was half asleep when he suddenly heard a series of fierce knocking on the door. "Who is it?" He turned over and sat up, shouting out loud. "Checking your water meter." Someone outside answered. "Has it been a month?" Never Miss a Mistake put on a sweatshirt and shorts, walked to the door in confusion, and opened it. Clang! As soon as the door opened, two strong men rushed in. One grabbed Never Miss a Mistake by the waist and tripped his legs, and the other grabbed his shoulders and elbows. Never Miss a Mistake was immediately pinned to the ground. "What are you doing?" "Never let me see you wrong," I shouted in fright. Then he saw several shiny black pistols pointed at him, and 2 police badges were next to them. I'm just selling a fake." Never Miss a Mistake was stunned for a moment, and then defended himself with grievance. Tears were about to fall. "That's the whole thing." Lu Qing sat on the chair and looked at Yenjika, who was sitting on the edge of the bed and flipping through the bulk purple gold flagon. "In other words, you were mentally prepared to receive a fake from the beginning?" The girl looked up thoughtfully. "Then why didn't you just hand it over to the military without fear? You want to take advantage of the situation with your own ability." Today was a rare cool day in early July. She wore a delicate and ladylike round-necked shirt. "Something like that." Lu Qing smiled vaguely. Yenjika put down the flagon and rolled her eyes at him. "You pulled me here just to see this fake. I even said that I would take you to buy 2 sets of clothes. My grandparents prefer the gentle and scholarly type. That's not urgent. Other relatives are still here, aren't they?" Lu Qing stood up and smiled. "Besides, what do you mean just to see this? Didn't you say it before? It doesn't matter what 2 people see together. What matters is the feeling of being together." While speaking, he walked to the door, closed it with a click, and locked it from the inside. Yenjika blinked her clear eyes, and didn't realize what was going on for a moment. Lu Qing walked to the window again, looked at the dazed little fairy, and laughed in a low voice. "My mom escorted Qi Yunfei back to Ningxue and won't come back today. My dad is working overtime and won't be home until 7 or 8 o'clock. With a swish, the curtains were drawn, covering the light in the room, making everything dim and dancing with light and shadow. The clear female voice came to an abrupt end. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the dimly lit room, a jade-white arm was draped over Lu Cheng's body, forming a sharp contrast with the cascading black hair. The whole room was filled with the silent beauty of dancing. Lu Qing glanced at the sleeping Yenjika, picked up his phone from the pillow with his left hand, and looked at the messages. "Rapid March, said an hour ago, the flagon doesn't have the charm of the fighting formula. It should be made by a very skilled craftsman without any martial arts. It's no more than 30 years old. Judging from the overall feeling, he most likely made it according to the original inscription. Let's trace the origin of this flagon immediately." Chapter 437. At 5:30 p.m. Yenjika woke up from her nap and put on Lu Cheng's t-shirt and shorts. She went to the bathroom to take a shower and then went back to her room to change into her own clothes. "It's all your fault." She pointed at the crumpled round-neck shirt on her body and looked at Lu Qing reproachfully. "Hurry up and get the iron. Otherwise, how could she meet people and go home?" "My iron broke 2 days ago." Lu Qing paused for a moment and then smiled. "But it doesn't matter. Watch me." "What?" Yenjika stared blankly at her husband with a confused expression. Lu Qing smiled and reached out his right hand, which was covered with a layer of white frost. Then the frost melted and the steam rose. He held the girl's clothes with his left hand and put his right hand down slowly. All the abnormal wrinkles and distortions were smoothed out. Yenjika's eyes gradually showed a look of realization. She couldn't help but praise, "Ching, your supernatural ability is getting more and more practical. You even developed this function. It's mainly because I can better control my supernatural ability of ice and fire after sensing my root pulp." Lu Qing answered, humbly. "It's all thanks to you, Coach Yen." Recently, he had been reading more about cultivation. He often joked with Yen Jike about the changes in his mentality, mood, and will after becoming a real man and getting married. He called it double cultivation success. Yen Jike pursed her lips and turned her head, smiling. Then she looked back at Lu Qing suspiciously. "Why do I feel like you have another meaning when you praise me like this?" "Humph, so you don't care about the fake goods because you want to trick me?" "No. At first, I just didn't want to trouble the military, even though they are also collecting the 9 words formula. Later on, I received a fake and thought it was pretty funny, so I wanted to share it with you and let you have a look. Now that I've taken a look at it, I feel like I have a lot of free time and can do something." Lu Qing chuckled and explained, "We haven't been intimate for many days. What if I'm not very willing to do it today?" Yen Jike played with her long hair and narrowed her eyes. Lu Qing smiled and spread his hands. "Then we can browse the forums and Weibo and talk about interesting topics. We can go out and buy some clothes at 4 or 5 o'clock. We have a lot of things to do together." Hindsight. Yen Jike raised her chin slightly, and the corners of her eyes were slightly raised. She stood up and walked to the door. Suddenly, she glanced at Lu Qing, annoyed and amused. "Look at you, why did you lock the door? You made yourself look like a bad guy. Aren't I guarding against accidents? What if my mom didn't stay at my aunt's house today? What if my dad got off work early and opened my door to see if I was in? Wouldn't that be super awkward? If it wasn't for the absolute reaction caused by the danger, I wouldn't have the mood to pay attention to the situation outside and listen for the sound of footsteps or keys." Lu Qing said with a smile. "But you found the door locked from the inside. Isn't that embarrassing?" Yen Jike tilted her head in confusion. "Think about it. In other people's eyes, we are already a couple who have met each other's parents. It's normal for us to lock the door and make out occasionally. It would be weird if we didn't. Anyway, they don't know to what extent." Lu Qing reached out and helped her tidy up a few strands of messy hair behind her head. "You seem to have a lot of experience." Yen Jike looked at Lu Qing up and down with her sparkling eyes. It's all from other people's experience and lessons on the internet. You have to be good at learning." Lu Qing chuckled. "Well, Little Ming's embarrassing anecdotes." 2 days later, the military still hadn't found out the origin of the wine pot. Lu Qing put on the gold-rimmed glasses he bought for the refined style, changed into matching clothes, and carried the gifts. Together with Yen Jike, he entered the villa community by the backwater lake and walked to the Yan's house. Compared to last summer when he sneaked in with fear, this time he was so open and aboveboard. "Later, just answer whatever Grandpa and Grandma ask you. Don't talk about other things. They have been head teachers for many years. They hate the kind of boys who don't talk seriously." Before entering the house, Yen Jike especially reminded him again. Lu Qing didn't feel any pressure when facing the 2 generations of elders. He laughed and pointed at himself. "Anyway, I got into Songqing University with my own ability. Grandpa and Grandma will definitely like me." In high school, he was always in the top 5 of his class, often the top 3, and sometimes the top 20 or top 10 students in his grade. He even exceeded his standards in the college entrance examination. A real man doesn't talk about his past achievements. Yen Jike chuckled and pushed the door open. In the spacious living room, Yen Kai, who was on vacation today, was talking with Yen Jihua and Gao Fun. When he heard the digital music, he stood up and greeted his daughter and son-in-law. Ji Mingyu had an important business meeting today, so she wouldn't come back until dinner time. Lu, you're here. Yan Kai was able to speak to the bastard who had stolen his precious cabbage in a more peaceful and friendly manner. Hello, uncle. Lu Qing changed into slippers. Dad, why are you here? Qing is not a guest. Yenjika said to lighten the atmosphere. Then she took her husband's hand and led him to the sofa. She said in a sweet voice, Grandpa, Grandma, Lu Qing brought you something. Hello, Grandpa and Grandma. Lu Qing handed over the tea leaves, original proof wine and other gifts. Huh, you're too polite. Lu, sit, sit. Yan Jihua looked at Lu Qing, took the bag and put it aside. After they sat down, he asked with a smile, Lu, you're also in Shushan No. 1 middle school. Why do all parents like to ask this? Lu Qing complained in his mind and answered with a smile, yes, I'm in the class next to Kuz. Every time the grade ranking is announced, I'll hear her name. Qing was also in the top 10 or 20 of the grade. I know such a person. Yenjika took the initiative to help him show off. But she had only heard about it and forgot about it. That time in the martial arts club, she didn't think the name Lu Qing sounded familiar, not bad. Yan Jihua and Gao Fen looked at each other and nodded with a smile. Then Lu was admitted to Songqing University, so he and Ko were classmates. Yan Kai added. In fact, this was something that Yenjika had mentioned in private. But in order to have something to talk about and not be so awkward, the elders started to talk about it. Yan Jihua was very scholarly. Hearing this, he asked with confusion and curiosity, then Xiao Lu, why did you decide to switch to martial arts? It was a coincidence. After I found out that Ku had signed up for the martial arts club, I signed up on impulse. After a few times, I started to feel that I have some talent and I can't waste it like this. Lu Qing told them the truth, even telling them that he had joined the martial arts club to pursue someone's granddaughter. He didn't need to mention this in front of his parents, but in front of the Yan family, they would feel his sincerity and importance to Ku. I didn't know that. Yan Kai laughed with mixed feelings. Yan Jihua laughed heartily and joked, Lu, you're scheming, aren't you? The topic was opened and the family started to talk about the couple's past. Yenjika blushed from time to time. Lu, Ku is going to study abroad. I heard from her that you plan to go there often and have martial arts exchanges. Gao Fen was concerned about the most practical issue. Yes, I'll try to fly there once a month and stay for a week or two. Lu Qing said. Yan Jihua nodded thoughtfully. I need to hire a special chef for you. Young people nowadays don't know how to cook. You'll get tired of foreign dishes after a few times, I know a little. Lu Qing couldn't help showing off. Yenjika nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Oh, what can you do? What are you good at? Yan Jihua smiled curiously. Actually, I can only cook noodles and egg fried rice. I'm best at these two. Lu Qing said self-deprecatingly. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt that the air was a little bit quieter, as if something dangerous was brewing. Yan Kai leaned back on the sofa and said to himself, I'm best at egg fried rice, damn, I seem to have revealed something. Lu Qing realized something and looked at Yan Jika in astonishment. He saw the same reaction in her eyes. Last summer, he had snuck into the Yan family and made breakfast with Ku. In the end, he was almost caught in the act by his father-in-law. At that time, he thought that the bowl of egg fried rice was specially made by Ku for him and did not realize that he was there. He seemed to have understood something. It's all your fault. Don't show off. After lunch, Yenjika scolded Lu Qing in the girl's bedroom. I was so afraid that my dad would jump up and take out his scalpel, I totally forgot about that. Lu Qing wiped the non-existent cold sweat. You can't get carried away. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Yan Kai said loudly, Ku, Lu, I brought you some fruits. Thank you, uncle. Lu Qing walked over and opened the door, only to see his father-in-law holding a plate of neatly cut fruits. Neatly cut. After meeting Yan Jika's grandparents, the couple lived life as usual. Sometimes Lu Qing would go to Yan's house for dinner, sometimes Yan Jika would go to Lu's house for a visit, sometimes they would go shopping and date, sometimes they would be alone. Soon, it was July 14th. The military was said to have found the whereabouts of the wine pot. At noon, Lu Qing packed his luggage and walked out of his room. You little rascal, you've improved. You know how to bring Jika on a trip. Qi Fang nodded with satisfaction. Mom, don't underestimate your son. Lu Qing shook his head and walked to the door. Destination, Huaqing. The battle between the Dragon King and the warrior sage. Chapter 438. At 5:20 p.m., the plane landed at Huaqing Heishui Airport. Just as Lu Qing and Yan Jika walked out of the arrival hall hand in hand, they felt a wave of heat that was full of moisture. It was as though they were in a steamer, and their skin lost its ability to breathe. All they felt was stuffiness, heat, and moisture. Lu Qing quickly activated his power of frost, and his body instantly felt refreshed. He even emitted a chill that was transmitted to Yan Jika, causing her to move closer to him. Their skin touched, and her husband changed from holding to hugging. Phew, I like you so much at times like this, Cheng. She confessed without a hint of embarrassment. She then looked around and said fearfully, let's not go to any scenic spots for the next few days, right? Otherwise, I'll die from the heat. Even with a walking air conditioner beside me, it won't be a great experience. Sure, then we'll stay in the hotel. Lu Qing chuckled, almost raising both his hands and feet in agreement with Yan Jika's suggestion. Yan Jika thought about it, and her eyes turned, revealing 2 rows of neat white teeth. She pretended to grind her teeth as she glared at Lu Qing. What I mean is, Huaqing is famous for its food. All kinds of morning tea, afternoon tea, and all kinds of soups and snacks. Our itinerary is to eat, and rest in the hotel when we're free, so we won't be exposed to the sun. Lu Qing roughly described his plan. I like that. Yan Jika's tone was light as she expressed her agreement. As they spoke, they hailed a cab and arrived at the Tianyue Hotel that Lu Qing had booked. It was very close to the most famous restaurants and tea houses in Huaqing. This time, Yan Jika held back her shyness and took the initiative to check in. She asked Lu Qing to stay where he was so that he wouldn't be recognized by anyone. As for Lu Cheng's ID card, his photo was taken when he was in his 3rd year of high school. There was a certain difference between him and now, when the lines of his face were more distinct after years of martial arts training. Not to mention his indescribable spirit and temperament. If a stranger didn't look carefully and pay attention to the information, they wouldn't be able to recognize him as a heavenly son of the era. As expected, the receptionist didn't notice and successfully prepared a room for them. After they entered the room and put down their luggage, they went straight to the nearest Huaqing restaurant for dinner. They ate roast goose, squab, and dongxing biao. They were very satisfied and felt that the trip was worth it. Back in the hotel, Yan Jika took out some makeup remover and walked into the bathroom, intending to wash off the sunscreen on her skin. Lu Qing sat on the edge of the bed and casually took out his phone. He glanced at the Longhu Club group chat. Although tomorrow was the official meetup, many of them had already arrived and were staying at the hotel booked by the local, a plumber eating mushroom. This meetup was partially sponsored by the local tycoon, Road to the Arena, and the rest was split evenly between the rest and students. Swish. 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 Messages appeared one after another, giving Lu Qing a fright. Damn, they're so chatty, he muttered under his breath. After scrolling up for a long time, he finally saw the situation of the first few forum members when they first met. At that time, Wonton Seller posted a group photo and said, "La la la, I'm here to recognize you." There were a total of 5 forum members in this group photo. Lu Qing recognized the 2 who were standing on the far left and right, respectively. They were Invincible Punch, Jin Tao, and Road to the Arena, Shou Yuaning, who had lost to him before. Jin Tao didn't change much during the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. He was still quite handsome and masculine, but he looked a little more mature. Shou Yuaning was wearing casual business elite-style clothes. He was a little chubby, and his hairstyle had been changed to a buzz cut with a few long concavities in the middle. In the center of the group was a girl who was about 1.5 meters tall. She was not ugly, petite and cute, and looked like a student. On her left was a short and fat man in his late 20s, and on her right was a thin and tall man who was more than 1.9 meters tall. He wore thick black-rimmed glasses and was at most in his early 20s. The most adorable height difference. Lu Qing couldn't help laughing. Little Wonton just reached the chest of the tall man on the right. They looked like father and daughter. That's easy to guess. You're the only girl, Little Wonton. Okamoto's fan spread his hands and laughed. The other 3 are all famous. Wonton Seller covered her mouth and laughed. What if I'm a cute boy? Let me say. From left to right, they are Invincible Punch, a plumber eating mushrooms, Little Wonton, pig riding knight, and Road to the Arena, replied Unparalleled Dragon King. You guessed it so quickly. You don't feel any sense of achievement. Smash table. Come, let me introduce you again. The one on the far left is our handsome little fist. He got his professional 9th pin certificate in October last year. He's been working hard to become a Dan Stage Mighty One before graduation so that he can step into the professional martial arts circle. Thank you for helping me brag, Little Wonton. I still have a year before graduation. It's not that easy to reach the Dan stage. Invincible Punch, Jin Tao sent a cupping hands emoji. After getting his professional 9th pin certificate, he felt that he had a way out and was no longer so unconfident. Wonton Seller continued, next to Little Punch is our talented little mushroom. He likes music, art, and martial arts. We were all stunned just now. Little Mushroom. Can you not call him that disgusting? Mushroom is ugly, fat, short, and cheap. He doesn't deserve to be called cute. Okamoto's fan and the plumber eating mushrooms were good friends who mocked each other every day. F***CK, I'll F***CKU. A plumber eating mushrooms sent a despising emoji. Come, lie down. If you can get down, I'll admit defeat. Okamoto's fan was still as cool as ever. I lost. A plumber eating mushrooms squatted in the corner and drew circles. I've decided. When little AI arrives tomorrow, you and Little Mushroom will live in the same room. Wonton Seller sent an emoji of a rolling Snow White meatball. Little AI. I also lost. Okamoto's fan silently retreated. Wonton Seller sent an emoji hiding in the shadows. I won't introduce the one in the middle. Little Pig Riding is so tall, I can only look up at him. He's one more class away from entering the Beep Association, and he even manages the forum. Do you admire him? Also, I'll tell you a secret. He took Little Sky home. Are you jealous? Above the sky was a girl with a bit of a rock vibe. This, embezzlement, using official authority for personal gain. Okamoto's fan sent a string of words. Big Boss is so amazing. He had originally intended to send the emoji using official authority for personal gain, but felt that it was too much of a joke, so he silently deleted it. Okamoto, I was actually prepared to kick you out of the group just now. Fortunately, you didn't say anything too outrageous. Pig Riding Knight raised an emoji of an emoji. There's no need to introduce little Arena. He's the real big boss in our group. Thank you for your hospitality. First bow, second bow. Wonton Seller sent a red face emoji. He lost his martial arts, but gained the whole world. Ha, he's just an errand boy for his family, so he has some spare cash. Road to the Arena loved to show off, and his style remained the same for decades. Lu Qing watched with a smile and scrolled down. He saw that, above the sky, and sea blue had arrived one after another. The former had straight hair, a thin face, and looked decent. She wore the same black-rimmed glasses as Pig Riding Knight, and didn't show that she liked rock music. Sea Blue was a little over 160 centimeters, round, cute features, and lively personality. She quickly got along well with everyone. They were all fourth-year students. More and more people gathered, and the group became more and more lively. Those who went were streaming and criticizing each other, while those who didn't went were watching and making fun of each other. Lu Qing scrolled down quickly with his thumb and saw that unparalleled Dragon King of the Sea Turtles had joined the group about 10 minutes ago. He was tall and fat, wearing a black t-shirt, and obviously gave off the feeling of an otaku. Watching you silently. Lu Qing scrolled to the end and sent a message, saying that he was also participating in this activity. Tiger, I look down on guys like you who don't come on holidays. A plumber eating mushrooms sent a despising emoji. Yeah, little Tiger, we're going to have a meal together later. We'll send you pictures of delicious food. Wonton Seller echoed with a smile. Road to the Arena asked in confusion, Tiger, you're only a junior when school starts. If you don't take advantage of this opportunity to have fun, you won't have time to work later. I'll try to find a more free job. Lu Qing made a joke. He had never revealed that he was a Songqing University student. A more free job usually doesn't pay much. Pig Riding Knight joked with a smirk emoji. If you were a rich second generation like Master Road, just ignore me. Okay, let's stop chatting. We're leaving. Watching restaurant. Invincible Punch said. I hate you guys. I hate all of you. Brahmin, who didn't make it, grumbled in a flirtatious manner. At this moment, Yenjika walked out of the bathroom, fiddling with her hair. She glanced at Lu Qing and asked in confusion, Qing, what are you looking at? Aren't they meeting in person? I'm looking through the chat history of Longhu Forum. Lu Qing answered with a smile. Let me see. Yenjika sat beside him curiously and took the phone. Lu Qing hugged her and moved his head closer. He introduced her and breathed in the girl's fragrance. Little Wonton is about the same height as Xiaoling. Yenjika pointed at the photo and laughed. Little Wonton is a little taller. She's standing beside Pig Riding Knight and unparalleled Dragon King, just like a victim kidnapped by criminals. The contrast between height and temperament is so obvious. It's so funny. Well, if Yan Xiaoling stands there, the effect will be the same. Lu Qing teased his two fans and felt that he couldn't get enough of his wife's fragrance. Yenjika was about to say something when she felt the hand around her waist tighten and the breath beside her ear become hotter. Her body stiffened at first and then softened. She glared at Lu Qing weakly and looked to the side. First shower. Okay. Lu Qing jumped up and dashed to the bathroom. On July 15th, the two followed the plan. They woke up in the morning to train and enjoy breakfast before returning to the hotel to rest. Lu Qing didn't have time to think of any bad ideas before Yan Zhike urged him to start practicing his oral English to lay the foundation for his upcoming trip to America. They laughed and learned until after dinner. Only then did the girl allow him to do what he wanted. It was a romantic moment. On July 16th, after morning training and breakfast, they set off for Mdichisha near Huaqing. This was the home ground of Longhu Club. When the car entered the mountain road, Yan Zhike, who was enjoying the scenery, suddenly pulled Lu Qing and pointed to a bus outside. Cheng, little wonton and the rest. Lu Qing glanced sideways and saw that the bus that the sedan had just passed was filled with members of the Longhu Club Forum who had come for a meetup. Chapter 439. The bus was soon pulled away and disappeared from Lu Qing and Yan Zhike's sight. What a coincidence! Lu Qing shook his head and laughed. He pushed his glasses up and sighed. He knew very well that his friends from the Longhu Club would be watching the match today, but he didn't expect to run into them on the way. Of course, this was just his own personal experience. Even if they had seen the passenger in the car, they wouldn't have known that it was his friend, Schrodinger's tiger. There was even a high chance that they wouldn't recognize him as Lu Qing. Hearing that, Yan Zhike tilted her head and glanced at her husband with a smile. Qing, I thought of a line from a song. What is it? Lu Qing asked curiously. It's hard to hold hands if we're not destined to meet. Yan Zhike pursed her lips and smiled. What do you mean by that? Lu Qing replied, annoyed and amused at the same time. He added wittily, then we'll be together even if we're 1,000 miles apart by fate, and spend 100 years sleeping on the same pillow. Yan Zhike spat and turned her head to the side with a smile. She then looked at Lu Qing with disdain. It's such an old song, and you still remember it so clearly. Uncle Cheng. As they bickered, the car slowed down and drove into the parking lot. Lu Qing and Yan Zhike paid half of the rental fee and got out of the car. They followed the instructions and walked along the road hand in hand for about 600 to 700 meters. After turning a corner in a mountain valley, the view before them suddenly opened up. They felt the heat factor in the air increase and become extremely active. In front of them was a wide area that sank deeper into the center. Every few steps, flames would emerge from the ground and burn quietly. They didn't seem to be extinguished even if it was day or night. Looking into the distance, Lu Qing could see a dark red liquid flowing in the cracks at the core of this place. The parts closer to the outside seemed to be covered by a dark gray armor. Just looking at it from afar, he could feel the tyrannical heat. This was the home ground of the Longhu Club, the famous fiery hell. Around this area, which was the size of 2 or 3 football fields, there were many semi-enclosed transparent corridors. The corridors were either high or low, divided into several rows, or partitioned into private rooms. These were the stands, in the usual sense. In order to prevent the weak spectators from being injured by the flying flames, sputtering magma, and the aftermath of the explosion, these corridors were all enclosed with high-tech explosion-proof and fire-resistant glass. There was also a sound channel. Yan Zhike took out the 2 tickets from her bag and found the corresponding glass box. Under the guidance of the security, she opened the door and entered. There was a sofa, a coffee table, and 3 big screens showing the fiery hell from different angles. This is the first time I've enjoyed VIP treatment in the stands. Lu Qing looked around and said with a smile. Actually, I prefer the kind with more people. The atmosphere is contagious. Yan Zhike rolled her eyes and didn't hide her thoughts. But my grandpa insisted on giving me this. He was afraid that accidents might happen. I already told him that I'm with you, but he was still worried. I need to be at the inhuman stage to make grandpa feel completely at ease. Lu Qing said self-deprecatingly. In the eyes of a physical invulnerability mighty one, a mere, top-notch sixth-pin Dan stage martial artist wasn't that safe. Maybe, young man. Go for it. Yenjika replied half-jokingly and half-encouragingly. Various exciting replays of the pre-match match were played. It was now 10:25 in the morning. All the seats in the stands were occupied, including the reporters' cameras. Unmanned aerial cameras took off and took their positions. They transmitted the images back to the glass corridors so that the spectators could see what was happening. Lu Qing noticed that little Wonton and the rest were in the glass room 3 seats to his left. They were so excited that they refused to sit down and were looking around. After a round of introductions and dancing at the edge of the venue, the sky suddenly darkened. A heavy and oppressive aura came vividly from the paper. Boom! A thunderclap suddenly exploded, turning into a sound wave that rolled out in all directions as if it had materialized. Is this the aura of the warrior sage, Qian Donglu? Connecting with heaven and earth and interfering with nature? Lu Qing pondered. He couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and walked half a step away from the glass in front of him. Yenjika did the same, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. Right at this moment, the ground fire in the spacious field leaped up at the same time. The dark red iron current shook off the black ash, and a few golden waves leaped out. Boom! A stream of magma erupted, rushing into the sky and falling back down. It lit up the darkness and illuminated a figure in the distance of the venue. He wore a navy blue martial arts suit with dragons and tigers embroidered on it. He was tall and straight, with handsome features, sword-like eyebrows, and starry eyes. His short hair stood up, giving him a wild and untamed look. It was hard to tell from his appearance that he was a man in his early 30s. Thump, thump, thump. With every step he took, the ground trembled. The flames leaped up again and again, and the magma spurted out again and again. There was no call. Everyone, including Lu Qing, shouted a well-known name in unison and let it reverberate in the mountains. Dragon King! Dragon King, Qin Chitao! Amidst such an atmosphere, the sky darkened once more. It was as if dark clouds were converging, and it pressed down on the spectators to the point that their hearts were uneasy. It pressed down on the waves of voices, and it pressed down on the soaring flames and soaring magma to the point that they lost their luster. From the other side, a man dressed strangely walked out slowly. His white robe resembled a martial arts suit, but it was also a Taoist robe. The edges were embroidered with green and purple lightning. He was about 2 to 3 centimeters shorter than Lu Qing. He had delicate features, an elegant temperament, and was introverted. Warrior Sage, Qian Donglu. The warrior sage, Qian Donglu, who was 2 years younger than the Dragon King. He had made a name for himself at a young age. He had caught up with Qin Chitao head-on and suppressed an entire generation of martial artists. No one dared to call themselves the heavenly son of China anymore. As he grew older, the previous generations of mighty ones were subdued as well. Although Lu Qing admired the Dragon King and preferred the man with his true nature, he had to admit that the warrior sage, Qian Donglu, was the ideal grandmaster in his heart. Now, he was going up against the Dragon King and the entire audience single-handedly. The referee didn't dare to enter the center of the arena. He raised his right hand from afar, dutifully playing the role of a humanoid object. First round of the competition. Dragon King, Qin Chitao vs. Warrior Sage, Qian Donglu. Those with titles had to be addressed as a sign of respect in such situations. Dragon King. Dragon King. Amidst the cheers, the referee swung his right hand down and announced loudly, "Begin." As soon as he finished speaking, he had already darted away from the battle zone. Bam! At this moment, Dragon King, Qin Chitao, had already thrown a punch, as if he was going to hit the void. However, his fist was like a missile, forcefully dragging his body forward, leaving behind afterimages and creating a loud sound like breaking the sound barrier. Using the fist as the body. As the afterimages extended, the Dragon King's fist was instantly ignited by a golden red flame. It spread rapidly and covered his entire body, turning him into a walking god of fire or Emperor Yen. Super Saiyan. This thought popped into Lu Cheng's mind. Warrior sage, Qian Donglu, and the Dragon King had fought countless matches and understood each other well. He had long since lost the mood to test his moves. Facing the attack, he clapped his palms together. Boom! A thunderous boom reverberated in everyone's hearts, shaking the glass a few hundred meters away. Yenjika felt as if her soul had been struck, her spirit wavering, and she couldn't focus. At the same time, the warrior sage separated his palms and pulled out a leaping purple thunder blade. As soon as it appeared, it slashed at the golden red flame enveloping the Dragon King's body. Qian Donglu followed closely behind, encircled by streaks of silver-white lightning, closing in like a deity descending from the heavens. The fierce battle thus began. The battle between the two mighty ones was in full swing. Lu Qing watched in fascination, wishing he could copy their every move and variation. Compared to the live broadcast, watching the battle in person was more three-dimensional. One could better experience the power of a physical invulnerability mighty one. For example, the occasional trembling of the ground, the waves of fire that could be felt through the heat-resistant glass, and the deafening thunder. The battle lasted for a full 20 minutes. The magma in the center of the arena had turned into a fountain. Golden, red, purple, and white fireballs surrounded the Dragon King, Chen Qitao. As he continued to attack, the fireballs fused together and condensed into a ball, shrinking in the center of his palm. With a roar, the Dragon King extended his arms, leaped high, and smashed down with his fist. Boom! Lu Qing reacted quickly and reached out to cover Yenjika's eyes. At this moment, the place where the two experts were fighting lit up. The audience's eyes were blinded for a short while and some even cried. It was as if a big sun had descended on this place. Boom! Waves of fire shot out, and a small mushroom cloud rose into the air, blooming at its peak. When Lu Qing opened his eyes, the Dragon King had won by half a move against the warrior sage, taking advantage of the home field advantage. After watching the replay, Lu Qing thought of his previous experience and couldn't help but praise him. Awesome! This was a battle that made a martial artist's blood boil. Within a radius of a few hundred meters, the Dragon King was like a god. Following that, Taoist Wuguang, Taoist Yunyan, Empress Luo, Ning Zitong, and Optimus Prime, Long Zhen, all physical invulnerability mighty ones took the field one after another. After 5 tough rounds, Longhu Club won 3-2. It was already past 12. So exciting. Yenjika looked at Lu Qing excitedly, praising him in a low voice. Yeah, I didn't come in vain. This is much more exciting than the live broadcast. Lu Qing looked at the various marks on the glass. The two of them exited the VIP room hand in hand as they discussed the day's match excitedly. At this moment, Yenjika, whose eyes were wandering, tugged at Lu Qing, tilted her chin and said, "Little wonton, Lu Qing looked over in confusion and saw the petite and youthful wonton seller running towards him with a booklet in her hand. Her target was probably, seemingly, It's me. Why is she looking for me? Don't tell me she knows I'm Schrodinger's tiger. That's impossible. I've never revealed that I'm a Songqing University student. Also, I didn't update anything about my identity. How could they guess? While he was at a loss, wonton seller approached. She looked at the confused and surprised Lu Qing and Yenjika and smiled sweetly. "Hello, Lu Qing." "That's right. She recognized me." It's normal for her to ask for an autograph. Lu Qing felt like he understood the truth. He smiled and replied, "Hello." Wonton seller explained embarrassedly, "We didn't recognize you because you were wearing glasses, but we still saw." She didn't continue and glanced at Yenjika. A girl who was so beautiful that she had her own uniqueness was easy to recognize. "I see." Lu Qing looked at his wife with some ridicule. She glared back at him. Wonton seller smiled again. She pointed at a plumber eating mushrooms, pig riding night, and the others behind her. "We're from the Longhu Club Forum. You should know those too, right?" She was talking about the road to the arena and the invincible punch. "Yes, my memory isn't that bad. The Warrior Sage Challenge tournament has a special meaning in my heart." Lu Qing chuckled. He couldn't figure out why little Wonton was here. "He remembers." Wonton seller shouted excitedly. Then she turned around and said sincerely, "Since then, many of us have thought highly of you. We watched you grow up step by step and lead Songqing University Martial Arts Club to win the national championship. We really believe that you're the heavenly son of the age and will become a mighty one with physical invulnerability in the future. After confirming that it was you before the tournament, we posted on the forum and made a call." Many forum members responded. She paused and raised the booklet in her hand. On it were the names of Wonton seller, Pig Riding Night, Road to the Arena, and others. She bowed and said, "We represent ourselves and a portion of the Longhu Club fans to make a sincere request to you. If you don't return to the Ice God sect in the future, can you consider the Longhu Club first? We really like you. We really believe that you can create glory here." When Wonton seller made this pose, Road to the Arena, Invincible Punch, Above the Sky, and others made the same pose. They didn't talk about others and only expressed themselves. Lu Qing was suddenly a little touched. He also felt a little strange that someone familiar would do this. He smiled and said, "I can't promise anything. I can only say that you know that I'm a fan of the Longhu Club." He reached out and took the booklet. Little Wonton's smile was exceptionally bright. Thank you. We'll post a Lu Qing Longhu Club topic on Weibo until you make your choice." After saying that, she waved her hand and ran back happily, high-fiving Road to the Arena and the others one by one. Lu Qing looked at them deeply. He took the booklet and pulled his little fairy out of the arena. "I'm also a fan of the Longhu Club," Yenjika suddenly whispered. Lu Qing looked over. The two looked at each other and smiled. They had a tacit understanding. When they were far away, Wonton seller, who was still excitedly talking about this matter, suddenly exclaimed, "I'm stupid. I forgot to ask for his autograph. I forgot to ask Lu Qing if he has an account in our forum." After lunch, they went back to the hotel. Yenjika went into the bathroom and removed the sunscreen on her face, neck, arms, and legs. Lu Qing put a pillow behind him and sat on the bed leisurely. He was browsing the Longhu Club group, and beside him were petitions sent by members of the forum such as, "Wonton seller. Ha, little dragon is so considerate. He took a picture of Lu Qing and me." Wonton seller was showing off at this moment. The so-called group photo was taken when she was explaining the whole story to Lu Qing. Therefore, only the back of her ponytail could be seen in the photo. However, the girl didn't mind. She even said happily, "No need for beauty treatments. I hate you." Brahmin, who had heard about her encounter with Lu Qing in the group chat, said with a crying emoji. Wonton seller looked at her weakly. "I wanted to get an autograph for you, but I was too nervous. I forgot about everything except for business. We're done." Brahmin covered her ears and shook her head. "What position does broken friendship mean?" Okamoto's fan interrupted. He was a completely different person in real life. According to Wonton Seller, he was shy and didn't talk much. I hate you guys. Brahmin repeated. Then she at the unparalleled Dragon King. Little dragon, what's my idol's level? How can I tell? Even a mighty one with physical invulnerability can't judge the level of a dance stage expert just by looking at his appearance. Unparalleled Dragon King spread his hands and said, but it's been less than 3 months since the national competition ended. At most, he's pushed his physical fitness and martial arts to the level of a top 6th pin. Does that mean Bai Shaoxing has a higher chance of winning? Road to the Arena asked with interest. There's still more than 5 months. Lu Qing has awakened his supernatural ability. There's still some hope for him to reach the inhuman stage before the end of the year. Unparalleled Dragon King answered. I'm a little worried. If Bai Shaoxing wins, my idol will be very unhappy. Brahmin couldn't join the group because her parents were watching her. She could only show her presence in the group. Sigh, what's there to worry about? The year before last January, I wasn't that far behind Lu Qing. Today, I haven't even touched the threshold of the Dan stage, but he's already trying to reach the inhuman stage. Even if he doesn't make it at the end of the year and suffers some ridicule, he can still complete the transformation next year and fight back against those who slander him. Invincible Punch sighed with emotion. Let's not talk about this anymore. When you enter university, you'll be able to see Lu Qing represent our Longhu Club. Wonton Seller encouraged her with what she thought was the best speed of improvement. When the time comes, you'll come to watching. As she continued, she sighed and said, I always thought that I was mentally strong, but I thought that Lu Qing might be a fan of our Longhu Club, so I planned to ask him if he had an account in the forum. If he didn't, I would ask him to register one. If he registers, I'll give him the title of Jar Grass. Invincible Punch said with a silly smile. Little fan, I'm sorry I couldn't get his signature. Wonton Seller was talking to herself and didn't care about the others' responses. Little Wonton, don't be sad. These tasks can be passed to Little Nightfall. She's already in the Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Brahmin comforted her good friend. Yeah, and Lu Cheng's signature is worthless. His handwriting is too ugly. Lu Qing couldn't help but come out and make fun of himself. Wonton Seller and Brahmin replied almost at the same time. We just like it. That's called character. Tiger, don't reason with girls at this time. Pig Riding Knight laughed. I posted Lu Cheng's response in the forum. Everyone is very enthusiastic. Shunqing has Ping Liyun in the future, Kongtong has Renli, and Daxing Temple has Zhi Hai and Shirshan. We need Lu Qing too. I wonder when he'll reach the inhuman stage, and if he still has the potential to reach the physical invulnerability stage. A plumber eating mushrooms said worriedly. A good seedling may not grow into a big tree. The phrase, the future belongs to you, is often poisonous. While Lu Qing was chatting, Yenjika walked out of the bathroom wearing the slippers provided by the hotel. She glanced at the petition book and smiled. Don't you think it's quite complicated? Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say that I'm Schrodinger's tiger. Lu Qing replied with a sigh. After a few words about this matter, Yenjika sat on the edge of the bed with one leg curled up and the other hanging down. She browsed Weibo and the news and shouted with great interest, Qing, come and take a look. Dragon King is so handsome and stylish in this picture. Lu Qing moved closer and found that this was the picture of Dragon King after he used his killer move. Golden red flames danced, and his muscles showed the most perfect proportion. He was full of strength. Yeah. He agreed with a compliment. And this one. Dragon King looks so young, and he's very stylish. Yenjika read out the compliments of Dragon King in the news from time to time. Lu Qing listened to his little fairy's narration and suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. He didn't think much of his wife's worship of Dragon King and instead thought that they had something in common. However, after watching the live battle, he suddenly realized that Dragon King was only 12 or 13 years older than him. He was much more handsome than him, and his martial arts were much better than his. Moreover, he might join Longhu Club in the future. They wouldn't be in two different worlds and would cross paths. Lu Qing felt depressed and slowly fell silent. Girls are usually more sensitive. While sharing, Yenjika suddenly raised her head and looked at Lu Qing in confusion. She blinked twice and said, "Qing, what's wrong?" "Nothing." Lu Qing held his phone and pretended to browse the forum. Yenjika pursed her lips and looked at him suspiciously. Recalling the situation just now, the corners of her mouth suddenly curled up and her dimples showed. She whispered in surprise and joy, "Qing, are you jealous?" "Of course not." Lu Qing subconsciously retorted. Yenjika changed her position and knelt beside him. She looked at his face with a smile and said to herself, "I just admire the Dragon King's spirit of never admitting defeat. As an idol, his ego, flamboyance, and fussiness are all very cute and adorable. But if we were to get closer to each other, I wouldn't like such a person. Moreover, I've always been the kind that likes rational people. Do you see that I rarely repost and comment on Dragon King's news? I'm not jealous." Lu Qing unconsciously smiled and denied with a little embarrassment. Yenjika pursed her lips and laughed secretly. She raised 3 fingers on her right hand and said wittily, "I swear, I won't worship Dragon Kings so much in the future. I swear, I only have one favorite idol, and that is Sky's shaking roar." "Brother Qing," Lu Qing burst into laughter and denied again, "I'm really not jealous. Is it worth it for me to be jealous over such a thing?" Yenjika's beautiful eyes sparkled. She covered her mouth and laughed. "Qing, you're so cute when you're jealous." Before she could finish her words, she was pushed onto the bed by the angry Lu Qing. "Wash. Oh, wash." In the midst of the intermittent sound, the girl's slippers fell off, and her delicate toes curled and stretched from time to time. For the next day and a half, their arrangements were adjusted. Breakfast, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, and supper were the same 5 meals a day. However, the time they spent practicing their oral English was much shorter. On the 18th of July, Lu Qing, who was full of satisfaction, held his luggage and waited for her to come out of the bathroom. He was ready to check out and go home. A few minutes later, Yenjika opened the door and walked out. Her face was a little pale. She pursed her lips and said, "I'm on my period, I know. I've already made you some ginger tea with brown sugar. Come, let me rub it for you." Lu Qing shook the thermos cup in his hand. Yenjika bit her lower lip. She seemed to be in a bad mood. She couldn't help but whisper, "What do you know?" "You don't know anything, ah." Lu Qing looked at Yenjika blankly. He didn't understand why she suddenly lost her temper. At this time, Yenjika came back to her senses. She forced a smile and said, "Qing, I was in a bad mood just now. I didn't mean to scold you, I understand. It's your period." Lu Qing suddenly understood. "You don't know anything." Yenjika put her right hand on her waist and looked down at her toes. She whispered silently. "That crazy idea didn't come true. God didn't want me to stay. The next step was to go to Songqing according to plan and complete the procedures. They would say goodbye at the beginning of August." You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.